The Terrifying Legend of the Great Devil King Part 5. That's Senior Sword Immortal! Everyone looked at the handsome figure in the sky and whispered softly. The people who had originally despaired now rekindled their hope. The purple crystal white tiger had its wings broken by the great sage. The black dragon king had his tendons pulled out by the great sage. Both beasts were seriously injured and almost incurable. Even with the repair speed of the alien beast king in the Tianquan realm, it is almost impossible to regenerate body tissues in a short period of time. After Su Mo fought against Tengu and won 2 levels in a row, his strength had already made a qualitative leap. From Yuhing Section 1 to Yuhing Section 3. Moreover, because he was familiar with the combat mode with the Tianquan realm, his actual combat power reached the 5th level of Tianquan. At this time, the information of the 2 strange beast kings appeared in front of Su Mo. Name: Black Dragon King. Level: 64-68. Status: severely injured, continuously weak. Seriously injured, current level reduced by 4 levels. Continuous weakness: the dragon's tendons are picked, and the level will decrease by 1 level every hour, up to a maximum of 10 levels. Skills: Black Mist Field, Dragon Tail Swing, Dragon Roar. Evaluation: it is recommended to attack the head of the seriously injured loach, which will cause critical damage. Name: Amethyst White Tiger. Level: 62-67. Status: severely injured, current level reduced by 5 levels. Skills: White Tiger Domain, Wind Tornado, Wind Blade Gale Bullet. Evaluation: without both wings, its strength is greatly reduced. Attacking the wound on its back will cause additional damage. Sword cultivators are the best at killing. Given their current state, it is no problem for Su Mo to fight 2 people alone. Moreover, he could take drugs, and as a result, the 2 strange beasts were at his mercy. Soon, a brilliant battle began to break out in the sky. There were roars like thunder and dazzling like fireworks. The battle did not last long. "Human! The emperor of our clan will not let you go!" All I heard was a roar of fear and anger. The next moment, a dazzling sword light streaked across the sky. A huge dragon head was cut off and fell from the sky. At the same time, the body of the amethyst white tiger was also split in half from the middle. "I said, Senior Great Sage, I didn't lose," Su Mo murmured softly as he watched the 2 beasts being killed one by one. Being able to kill 2 beast kings doesn't mean that Su Mo is very strong. It was completely a lucky coincidence, equivalent to the person who made the final kill. The 2 strange beasts had already been beaten half to death by the great sage's final blow. Rather than saying that Su Mo killed them, it would be better to say that it was the great sage. "Ding, you killed the small boss Black Dragon King. Experience value plus 100,000, level plus 2, reputation value plus 100,000, and obtained a diamond treasure chest 1. Ding, you killed the small boss Amethyst White Tiger. Experience value plus 100,000, level plus 1, reputation value plus 100,000, and obtained a diamond treasure chest 1. To advance to the next level, you need 500,000 experience points." With the system prompt sound coming to my ears, this battle finally came to an end. Since this time the King of Monsters was killed directly, the experience points provided were twice as much as the last time Tengu was defeated. As a result, Su Mo was promoted 3 levels in a row and reached the 6th level of Yuheng. Name: Su Mo. Level: 56-67. Experience value: 1078/200000. Reputation: 237,000, famous all over the world. Physique: innate sword body. Small sword body, the whole body can become a sword. Talent: Sword Realm LV5 Sword Power. Skills: Tianqin Sword Technique, Holy Spirit Sword Technique, 10,000 swords returned to the origin, chasing stars and chasing the moon. Items: Diamond Treasure Box 2, Gold Treasure Box 1, Heaven's Favor 1, Vitality Pill 99, Life-Saving Pill 3. Evaluation: the ceiling of human combat power. At this time, due to Su Mo's high level of swordsmanship and his physique being nourished by the sword energy that protects his body for a long time, his physique has become an innate sword body. Moreover, his combat power has reached the 7th level of Tianquan. He is considered the best among all the people in the Tianquan realm. It is much stronger than the previous Tianquan floor Tengu. If I meet Tengu again, I should be able to keep it away completely. Next, it's time to end the battle on the border. Su Enmo whispered softly, standing in the air, looking down at the battlefield where fighting was still going on below. The next moment, he slowly drew his sword. Brush. Another dazzling sword light slashed at the tens of thousands of strange beasts below. Soon, after several consecutive sword strikes, the entire battlefield was cleared by Su Enmo. The situation on the border has been temporarily stabilized. This is a cutting-edge combat force, and its impact on the entire battle situation is almost decisive. As long as the top combat power of the alien beasts is dealt with, then the remaining beast tide will naturally not be a problem. Ding, you killed a Yuheng Realm beast, experience points plus 10,000. Ding, you killed a Yuheng Realm beast, experience points plus 10,000. Among the low-level beasts, there were several beasts in the Yuheng Realm, which were killed by Su Enmo easily, providing him with a lot of experience points again. As for the strange beasts below the Yuheng Realm, they can no longer provide him with experience points. After resolving the war on the northern border, Su Enmo turned into a ray of light and left quickly. Next, Su Enmo was like a brick, moving wherever he was needed. Quickly go to the top battlefields. Participate in the battles of one Tianquan realm powerhouse after another. The soldiers on every border looked at the figure flying on a sword. There will be an inexplicable sense of security in your heart. At this moment, he seemed to have turned into a ray of light. Soon, Su Enmo joined the battlefields, and the balance was finally broken. The kings of all the strange beasts were beaten back step by step. The turbulent border situation finally stabilized due to Su Mo's arrival. Ding, you teamed up with the god of war Shao Tians to suppress the small boss Yamada no Orochi, experience value plus 50,000. Ding, you and Taoist Wang teamed up to suppress the small boss White Whale King, experience points plus 50,000. Ding, your level has been upgraded. Ding, you killed a beast from the Yuheng realm, experience points plus 10,000. Ding, you've been upgraded. Since returning to the main world, after lying flat in the global college entrance examination ranking battle for a few days, Su Enmo once again entered the rapid upgrade mode after a long absence. After wandering around the entire border, he defeated several great beast kings and hunted more than a dozen Yuheng realm beasts. His level was directly increased by 3 levels. After stabilizing the entire border situation, Su Enmo did not intend to stop there. After bidding farewell to the ceilings, start hunting alone, heading to the territory of exotic beasts. Upgrading is secondary. I just want to tell these alien beasts that humans are not to be messed with. Finally, after more than 10 days of continuous hunting, they killed hundreds of Yuheng realm beasts. Su Enmo once again leveled up 2 levels, killing tens of thousands of ordinary low-level monsters. The level has reached the Tianquan realm. The combat power has also reached the peak of Tianquan. At this moment, he can be called the true number 1 person on Earth. However, after reaching the Tianquan realm, killing Yuheng realm enemies will hardly increase your experience points. If you want to upgrade again, you either have to practice slowly by yourself, or kill Tianquan. It can be said that a period of rapid upgrade has passed. At this time, with Su Mo's combat power as a sword cultivator, it was easy for him to kill the king of the alien beasts in the Tianquan realm. Even if the remaining 5 alien beast kings join forces, he is not afraid at all. In the outskirts of the alien beast territory belonging to the Eurasian continent, there are almost no large groups of alien beasts. Just when Su Enmo was about to attack the dragon and head to the northern hemisphere of the American continent to kill a few kings of alien beasts, and completely solve the problem of alien beasts, a feeling of fear and trepidation emerged in my heart. Su Mo's heart sank. At his level, his martial arts intuition was terrifyingly strong. He naturally knew that going to the southern hemisphere and landing on the American continent at this time would almost be a life-threatening situation. With my current strength, who can threaten me? Could it be that Beast King? Su-Emo was in a state of confusion. After hesitating for a moment, Su-Emo decided to use the main world life simulator after a long time. The number of life simulations is hard to come by. After going through a reincarnation world, he only got 3 simulation opportunities. So use it once, and don't use it unless it is absolutely necessary, when there is a strong life-threatening crisis, or some kind of premonition. Su-Emo won't use it. At this moment, Su-Emo had a bad feeling in his heart. Soon, Su-Emo conducted a life simulation in the main world. Main World Life Simulator, start. On June 11th, you solved the problem of the strange beasts on the border, and after several days of leveling up, you finally reached the Tianquan realm. That afternoon, you thought you were invincible and no one in the world could threaten you, so you headed to the American continent, ready to completely resolve the chaos of alien beasts. On June 12th, you landed on the American continent. In order to avoid alerting the enemy, you began to hide your figure and secretly search for the king of the exotic beasts in the Tianquan realm. On June 13th, you secretly hunted several Yuheng realm exotic beasts, but did not find the location of the exotic beasts base camp. June 14th. You searched all day and found nothing. On June 15th, you found the tribe and territory of the Tengu, and secretly killed the seriously injured Tengu. June 16th. You began to search for the next Beast King's territory, but found nothing. June 17th. Based on the clues revealed by the beasts in Yuheng realm, you finally found the lair of the next Beast King. But the death of Tengu has already alarmed the other Beast Kings. This is a trap they secretly set up, and they are ready to join forces to kill you here. On June 18th, you were invincible in combat, and easily defeated the combined forces of several Beast Kings. When you were about to fight back, a breath that frightened you descended. You followed your body's instinct to flee, and before you left, you didn't forget to kill several seriously injured Beast Kings. On June 18th, you killed several great Beast Kings, and you were upgraded, but you were also hunted down by a purple-clothed figure. On June 19th, the purple-clothed figure was suspected to be a Tianxian realm expert. He hit you from a distance and seriously injured you. You began to flee in panic. In the end, Xiaozhou took you away from the American continent with you. The purple-clothed figure seemed to have some concerns and did not chase you. On June 20th, you returned to Kyoto and convened a high-level meeting of human beings, making the purple-clothed figure's strength known to the public. For a time, people were in a state of panic. On June 21st, the human leaders launched 5 major plans for the purple-clothed figure, 3 major policies, and 1 basic point. On June 22nd, the human leaders decided to launch a nuclear strike on the alien beast's nest. A mushroom cloud of destruction rose into the sky, but it seemed to have little effect. On June 23rd, humans began to use plasma cannons, particle beam weapons, electromagnetic pulse bombs, gamma-ray bombs and other high-tech weapons to attack the American continent. Half of the American continent was sunk, but it seemed that nothing happened. On June 23rd, the purple-clothed figure began to retaliate, destroying a major city of the human race with a palm from a distance, shocking the world. On June 24th, the power of the purple figure frightened the human leaders, and humans launched the Spark Project, beginning to select elite talents from around the world in preparation for colonizing Mars. On June 25th, the Spark Project encountered resistance. Ordinary people began to challenge social order, and human society entered a period of great riots. On June 26th, you, unable to travel through time and space, began to play badly. On June 27th, you went home and started being affectionate with Luo Shi, and nothing happened. On June 28th, you went home and started to be affectionate with Luo Shi, but you were exhausted. On June 29th, you started going home to spend time with Luo Shi, and you had fun every night. On June 30th, after 3 days of playing slack, you began to have a sudden realization. You used the heavenly favor on yourself, and your level was raised by 1 level that day. On June 31st, you, who are favored by heaven, have made rapid progress in your cultivation. You will work hard to cultivate and upgrade during the day, and continue to be affectionate with Luo Shi at night. On July 1st, you practiced diligently and leveled up. July 2nd. Under your guidance, Luo Shi made rapid progress and was promoted to Kaiyang realm. July 30th. You practiced diligently and leveled up. August 1st. The Spark Plan was officially implemented. The human upper echelons and the powerful class took some elite sparks and boarded anti-gravity spacecraft to Mars. You and Luo Shi did not choose to go. August 1st. The anti-gravity spacecraft hit the asteroid belt on its way to Mars and was destroyed. On September 1st, you were promoted to the peak of Tianquan, and your combat power reached the peak of Tianji realm. Luo Shi was promoted to Yuheng realm. On September 2nd, the purple-clad figure ascended to the moon, and his body underwent some mysterious changes, and began to settle accounts with the Earth. September 3rd. You and Luo Shi teamed up to stop the purple-clothed figure. Luo Shi blocked a fatal attack for you, and his life or death was unknown. You were very sad, and at the last moment, you burst out your potential, entered the sword realm, sublimated to the extreme, and died together with the purple-clothed figure. This life simulation has ended. After reading the contents of the life simulator, Su Emmo fell into a long silence. No one expected that the alien beast king that suddenly appeared on Earth would be so powerful. In the life simulation, Su Emmo cannot travel through reincarnation, so he cannot gain experience through the reincarnation world and create a time difference to quickly upgrade. According to the original trajectory, he and Luo Shi would have died together. Even the entire human race will perish as a result. Full of thoughts, Su Emmo quickly rushed home. Next, if we want to completely solve the problem of the alien beasts, it will definitely not work according to the original trajectory. In other words, it is imperative to travel through reincarnation. But traveling through the world of reincarnation, not knowing what the ultimate mission is, will you get lost in the world of reincarnation? So I have to say goodbye to my family properly. After all, I don't know how many years and how many reincarnations will pass before we part. Back in the little house in Kyoto, the table was now filled with food. Luo Shi was busy in the kitchen. She had a graceful figure, and her beauty could not be concealed even with an apron on. She tied her hair up, and beads of sweat occasionally flowed down her smooth forehead. The beautiful face has a hint of worldly air, no longer the usual ethereal and fairy-like look, but with a bit more gentleness of an ordinary woman. At this moment, she is like a virtuous wife waiting for her husband to come home, full of trivial daily life. And Su Xian was helping to make trouble in the kitchen. Su Emmo first quietly slipped into the kitchen, twisted Su Xian out, and winked at him. Su Xian immediately understood, made an okay gesture, and tiptoed out of the kitchen. At this time, Su Emmo approached Luo Shi and gently embraced her from behind. Luo Shi's body trembled noticeably and he moved, but he did not struggle. "Wife! I'm back," Su Emmo said softly, his voice a little hoarse. "After all, it will take many, many years before I leave." Su Emmo gently hugged Luo Shi from behind, rubbing her hair with his chin, and a faint fragrance wafted into his nose. Feeling the warmth and softness in his arms, Su Emmo couldn't help but feel deeply attached. "Don't move, I'm going to cook." Seeing that Sumo's hand was getting naughty, Luo Shi slapped his hand away. "A kiss." Su Emmo was a little unwilling to give in. His hands were restlessly placed, his cheek resting on Luo Shi's snow-white neck. Luo Shi's body trembled. She felt the hot breath blowing against her ears. Her face became hot and a blush crept up her cheeks, making her look charming and beautiful. She had to turn her head and put her rosy lips on Sumo's. First, when the two lips touched, the soft touch of the lips came, accompanied by a faint sweetness. After tasting Luo Shi's lips for a while, Su Emmo let her go. After letting go of Luo Shi's body, Su Emmo helped her and cooked together. Soon, all the delicious meals were ready and neatly placed on the dining table, still steaming. Su Xian sat on a high chair, her long legs swaying, her body leaning against the table, sniffing with her small nose, looking intoxicated. I am so happy to be able to eat the food cooked by Sister Luoshi again. Sister Luoshi, when will you marry my brother? Then I can eat the meals you cook every day, Su Xian said. In fact, with the current level of technology in Kyoto, it is completely possible to have household robots responsible for cooking, and the food tastes pretty good. The control of the heat and the saltiness of the taste are extremely precise, and there are many varieties. But Su Mo and Su Xian just like the food cooked by Luoshi, which has a unique taste. Luoshi's cheeks still had a blush that hadn't completely faded. She glanced at Su Mo coquettishly and said, "That depends on him. How about getting the certificate tomorrow?" Su Mo said with a smirk on his face. Okay. Luoshi nodded seriously. Ahem, we're not even 18 yet, we can't get the certificate yet. This time it was Sumo's turn that felt a little unnatural. It's not that he's scared, he's about to enter the reincarnation world, what if he can't come back? Doesn't that mean Luoshi will become a widow just after marrying him? Besides, how can a girl's wedding be so hasty? Tis, brother is a coward, he dares to say but not to do. Su Xian finished off the attack from the side. Su Mo glared at her. Su Xian stuck out her tongue at him unconvinced. Luoshi snorted softly and said nothing more. The three of them sat at the table and started eating. Su Xian picked a piece of meat and was about to reach out with her chopsticks. Su Mo was quick to pick it up and put it into Luoshi's bowl. Luoshi, you worked hard to cook, eat this. Su Xian picked out another chicken wing, and Su Mo picked it up quickly and casually. Luoshi, this is not bad either, try it. After a few rounds, Su Xian had nothing to eat and ate the rice dryly. She lay on the table, mumbling in dissatisfaction, with her lips pouted high. I started to pick up the peanuts in frustration, but found that I couldn't pick them up after a long time. Su Mo looked disdainful. Okay, stop bullying Su Xian. Luoshi was laughing so hard that her body was shaking. She picked up a chicken leg and put it into Su Xian's bowl. Humph, it's still Sister Luoshi who cares about me. Only then did Su Xian relax her brows and look proud on her face. Wife, I want one too, Su Mo said. Okay, here you go. Luoshi smiled happily. Although there were not many people at the table, everyone was having fun and a warm atmosphere was spreading. This is Sumo's family. A home for 3 people. At this time, the virtual TV was still broadcasting news. During this border turmoil, the great sage fought against 2 alien beast kings alone and fell. He is the ceiling and pillar of our human race. Even if he dies, he will die on the battlefield. He has made great contributions to our human race. He once held up the entire human race during its most turbulent period. The great sage passed away on June 9th. This day should be regarded as the great sage's public memorial day. In front of the virtual screen, a global memorial service for the Monkey King is underway. The red flag of the Human Federation was lowered to half-mast. Solemn and dignified background music slowly sounded, and the screen kept switching between the Monkey King's life stories and the countless achievements he had made. At this moment, the whole world is mourning. I switched to several channels, all of which were reporting memorial services, and finally one channel was reporting on the global situation. With the participation of Senior Sword Immortal, the situation on the border was a great victory. 2 king beasts were even killed by Senior Sword Immortal. We humans may have a chance to take this opportunity to counterattack the alien beast's territory and reclaim the invaded hinterland. Experts in exotic animal research expressed their own opinions. The sacrifice of the great sage provided us with a precious opportunity, allowing the Sword Immortal to successfully kill 2 king beasts. This feat is unprecedented. I think this is a chance for our human race to turn the tables. The psychic expert also echoed. Yes, now that Senior Sword Immortal has joined us, and all the major beast kings have been seriously injured, the opportunity cannot be missed. I think we should take the opportunity to land on the American continent and directly deal with the remaining beast kings, and completely put an end to the disaster of the beasts. A number of guests, experts in various fields, expressed their opinions one after another. Including on some short videos and websites, many netizens have expressed their opinions, and they all believe that the situation is very good at this time. Although a great sage passed away, a sword immortal was gained. He not only killed the 2 kings of the strange beasts, but also seriously injured the remaining kings. This is the best time for humanity to launch a counterattack. Humanity responds to this with the greatest optimism. I'm afraid no one would have thought that just 3 months later, humanity would be facing the danger of extinction. Not only was the Spark project impacted by the asteroid belt, but no trace of human fire was preserved. Even the humans who remained on Earth could not escape the destruction of the alien beasts. Everything is about that purple-clothed figure who can transform, the king of exotic beasts. Brother, we humans will soon be able to retake our homeland and drive the monsters out, right? Su Xian also said with great optimism. Su Emo was in a heavy mood, but he still smiled and said confidently, "Of course, it's a strange beast. With your brother here, we can kill it with one sword." Luo Shi didn't say anything. She glanced at Su Emo and silently picked up some food for him. Soon dinner was over. The housekeeping robot went to clean the table, and Su Xian returned to her room. Su Emo and Luo Shi returned to Su Mo's room together. "You seem to be worried." After entering the room, Luo Shi stood at the door and looked at Su Mo's 5-square-meter king-size bedroom. He hesitated for a moment and said, "What could I be worried about?" Su Emo felt warm inside, but grinned. "Maybe it's just because I've been fighting with the monsters for too long," Su Emo explained. Luo Shi stood there quietly, without saying a word, with no expression on her beautiful face. It seems obvious that he doesn't believe it. Today, Su Emo and Luo Shi have developed a kind of tacit understanding. This is something that neither Su Emo nor Su Xian has. Sometimes you only need a glance to know what the other person is thinking. Whether the other person is hiding something or not, it is impossible to hide it from the other person. Just like today, Luo Shi suddenly decided to cook by herself. It's because I feel that Su Emo might be coming back. And now, Su Emo is right beside her. But she felt that Su Emo was about to leave. "Okay, stop looking so sad and smile." Su Emo stepped forward and stretched out his hand to pinch Luo Shi's beautiful face. Under Su Mo's control, Luo Shi forced out a smile that was uglier than crying. But ugliness is only relative, she is still extremely beautiful. "You seem to be stronger." After a long time, Luo Shi seemed to have thought of something and spoke in a low voice. Her intuition is terrifyingly sharp. "My Luo Shi has become even stronger. I haven't seen him for more than 10 days, but he has already reached the Yaoguang realm. If those so-called geniuses knew about this, they would be ashamed." Su Emo laughing. "Compared to you, what kind of genius am I?" Luo Shi felt a little lost. Su Emo came forward and gently tapped her forehead. "In my opinion, Luo Shi is the real genius," Su Emo said softly. "As for him, he can only be considered a cheater at best. If you have anything on your mind, tell me." Luo Shi gave him a last deep look. Through the secret door, I returned to my room. "Now let's prepare for the reincarnation journey. Let's use this heaven's favor first. And I have to open those new treasure chests too." Seeing Luo Shi leave, Su Emo whispered softly, "Do you want to use heaven's favor?" "Use." Su Emo Dao. The next moment, a warm current flowed into Su Mo's body. Su Emo felt something had changed, so he opened the properties panel and saw. Name Su Emo. Level 6170. Experience value 15200/1000000. Reputation 320,000, famous all over the world. Physique, innate sword body. Luck, God favors you. Heaven's favor, to a certain extent, you are favored by heaven and can sense life and death crises in advance. Talent, Sword Realm LV5 sword power. Skills, Tianqin sword technique, Holy Spirit Sword Technique. 10,000 swords return to the origin, chasing stars and chasing the moon. Items: Diamond Treasure Boxes 2, Gold Treasure Box 1, Vitality Pills 98, Life-Saving Pills 3. Evaluation: The first human being. I am more fortunate than before, Su-Emo muttered to himself. Luck is something mysterious, but it is real. At this time, after Su-Emo used the favor of heaven, he felt even more strongly that a disaster was about to happen. It was blurry before, but now it feels like seeing flowers in the fog. Next, it's time to open the treasure chest, Su-Emo yells. The next moment, Sumo's consciousness probed into the backpack space and opened the golden treasure chest first. Amidst the colorful lights, the treasure chest slowly opened. Ding, you have obtained the epic secret skill of mutual support. Ding, you have obtained the Tiger Wind Pill 1. Mutual support, epic quality, a formal cultivation method passed down from the Taoist origin, which can cultivate a tacit understanding between the Taoists. Mutual support and exploration of the Great Way with a Taoist partner can improve the physical strength and cultivation of both parties, and over time, you can achieve a sense of telepathy. The improvement effect depends on the appearance, soul compatibility, and qualifications of both partners. The higher the appearance, the more perfect the soul compatibility, and the stronger the qualifications, the greater the improvement in cultivation, which can improve the happiness between partners to a certain extent. Note: when used together with a Taoist companion, the maximum level that can be raised overnight is 1. It cannot be used to break through a major realm. The cooldown period is 1 month. Tiger Wind Pill. It can greatly improve a man's spirit in a short period of time and gain lasting combat power. Soon, a bottle of pills appeared from the void and fell into his hand, along with a small notebook. Su-Emo opened the notebook and took a quick look. Then he swallowed and quickly closed it. It's very profound, and it comes with illustrations, Su-Emo murmured. No wonder I spent so many days and nights partying during the life simulation. Could this be the reason? Su-Emo suddenly realized something. Unfortunately, the cooling time is a whole month, and it cannot be used to achieve a breakthrough. In other words, to break through from the 9th level of Tianquan to Tianji, it is not feasible to rely on each other's help, and the bottleneck still needs to be broken by oneself. And there is only 1 free upgrade per month. If there were no restrictions, then he wouldn't even need to travel through reincarnation. Just relying on this epic secret technique. Within a month, he was able to reach level 30 and directly defeat the alien Beast King. What a pity. The next moment, Su-Emo didn't think any more and opened the diamond treasure chest again. Ding, you have acquired the invisibility skill. Invisibility, epic quality. Can hide one's body and breath, blending into nature. Invisibility is quite useful, Su-Emo murmured, although he preferred to end the battle with one's sword. But when you are really no match for the opponent, you have to escape. Soon, Su-Emo opened the next diamond treasure chest. Ding, you have acquired the skill 1,000 Faces. Thousands of faces, epic quality. Can change one's appearance, shape, temperament, aura, and disguise one's own realm. Why are they all life-saving skills? Su-Emo Lo slang. By now he had already discovered that the things that came out of the treasure chest were not completely random. For example, the previous strategy props. Does his current life-saving skill foreshadow the difficulties he will face in his next reincarnation? At this time, Su-Emo was thinking about the preparations he needed to make before entering the reincarnation world. Looking at the newly acquired mutual support. After hesitating for a moment, he walked towards the secret door leading to Luoxi's room. Crack! The door was not locked, and Su-Emo walked in. This is... Luoxi frowned and looked at the small notebook Su-Emo handed over. He opened it with a look of suspicion. After taking a few glances, her pretty face turned red with shame. Tisk, that's not serious, Luoxi said coquettishly, but her beautiful eyes were still looking at the little notebook honestly, without blinking. In the end, she simply lay down on the bed, her beautiful body graceful and her snow-white and delicate legs slightly crossed and bent, gently swaying. Her pretty face blushed, and she kept turning the pages, reading with great interest. Suemo. He actually looked at it more seriously than I did. Suemo never expected this. Soon, Suemo and Luo Shi began to practice seriously. No words were spoken that night. With Suemo and Luo Shi's qualifications, and their insignificant looks, of course, it directly reached the maximum value that could be upgraded through dual cultivation, and both of them were directly upgraded to the next level. For several days, Suemo spent a lot of time with Luo Shi and Su Xian. Take them shopping or sightseeing. He guided the two in their practice. It is worth mentioning that Su Xian's talent at this time was blessed by heaven. His talent was raised to that of a genius. I have successfully been promoted to a warrior some time ago. Now he has been promoted to the 3rd level of Hidden Yuan. At her age, it's incredible. It has the style of Luo Shi back then. However, the teachers at Su Xian's school were not too surprised by this. I even feel that this is how it should be. After all, her brother is the #1 swordsman on Earth. With his brother's exemplary performance as an example, it was only natural for Su Xian to reach this level. However, this also means that Su Xian will probably have to exist with the halo of Su Mo's sister in the future. 3 days passed. The human leaders began to look for Suemo several times and held top-level meetings. Thinking of taking advantage of the alien beast's weakness, they launched a massive attack on their lair in the American continent. The low-level beastmen will suppress the enemy with firepower from the army and high-tech thermal weapons. As for the King of Strange Beasts, it naturally requires several powerful people in the Tianquan realm to carry out the beheading plan. However, Suemo rejected all of them on the grounds that he was injured and the timing was not right. Others thought the situation was very good, but Suemo knew that the American continent was a dangerous place. Attacking now is a dead end. My dear Sword Immortal, you have worked hard before. Thanks to you, we were able to stabilize the situation on the border. Later, we went deep into the tiger's den and killed a large tribe of exotic beasts. Now you should rest well in Kyoto. As for the beheading, leave it to us old guys. Several powerful people in the heavenly power realm of mankind were obviously unwilling to give up this great opportunity, said the leading Taoist priest Wang. Several other powerful Tianquan realm masters also nodded in agreement. Seniors, do you know about the exotic beast king from a while ago? Suemo saw that persuasion was ineffective, so he slowly told the secret. Originally, he didn't want to cause chaos in the entire human society, but now he has no other choice. You mean? A group of human leaders were shocked and confused. They knew that the king of exotic beasts had been born, but they didn't know his specific abilities. Yes, to be honest, I once went deep into the American continent and fought with the king of strange beasts, but I was no match for him. Suemo shook his head and smiled bitterly, then told his guests about the strength of the alien beast king in the life simulation. I think, if things are hopeless, let's just execute the fire plan. That beast king is invincible. At this point, Suemo looked serious. But remember, it's best to implement the fire plan in July, the sooner the better, especially to avoid the period of August 1st. Suemo expressed his concerns and briefly mentioned that during the life simulation, the anti-gravity spacecraft might crash into the asteroid belt on August 1st. The atmosphere in the entire conference room suddenly became extremely serious. If Suemo fails to return successfully and gets lost in the cycle of reincarnation, human beings on Earth are doomed to be destroyed. If the remaining humans on the anti-gravity spacecraft can avoid the meteorite crisis, leave some sparks of inheritance on Mars, maybe there will be a chance for a comeback in the future. At the very least, we cannot allow the human race to become completely extinct in the universe. After leaving the human race high-level meeting, Suemo decided to travel back in time. I have been so affectionate with Luo Shi for so long, and spending a few days of peace and happiness together is enough. If I continue to hesitate like this, I will only feel more reluctant. So it's better to make a decision early. Soon, Suemo went to Su Xian's school and looked at her from a distance in the sky. I found her bragging and chatting with the handsome boys in the class. Su Mo shook his head and laughed. Xiao Xuanzi, don't follow my old path. What else can you learn? How to pick up girls, flirt with little boys. I'm afraid you can't control it. Finally, he took a deep look at Su Xian and memorized his sister's appearance in his mind. Su Mo leaves. Just now there seemed to be someone there. At this moment, Su Xian belatedly looked up at the sky. There was a trace of confusion in his eyes. Su Xian, don't stop, tell me. The person I admire most is Senior Sword Immortal. What was he like when he was a child? The little boy asked excitedly. Speaking of this, Su Xian instantly became excited. Her face became serious, and she said seriously. My brother, he entered the Yin Yuan at the age of 3, became Dong Ming at the age of 5, was promoted to Yao Guang in a reign of light at the age of 8, and achieved Kai Yang under the setting sun at the age of 12. On the other side, Su Mo has returned home and bids his final farewell to Luo Shi. I might have to go out for a while, Su Mo said softly. Where are we going? Will it take long? Luo Shi asked. Soon, I'll be back soon. Su Mo grinned. It may be very quick for you, but for me it may be several decades. Can you take me with you? After hesitating for a long time, Luo Shi asked in a low voice. Sorry, there may be no way this time. Just wait for me at home. If I come back, all problems will be solved. If I can't come back. Oh, by the way, if I can't come back for a while, you can join the Spark project and take Su Xian on an anti-gravity spacecraft to Mars. Su Mo still subconsciously hoped that Luo Shi and Su Xian could both survive. Seeing Luo Shi staring at him without saying anything, Su Mo also said, You just wait for me there. In short, you must survive, and then wait for me to come back. Okay, I'll wait for you. Luo Shi did not insist this time. Her long eyelashes trembled slightly. Whispering softly, he walked forward and hugged Su Mo. Feeling the softness in his arms and enjoying this moment of warmth, Su Mo let go of Luo Shi. Then, as she watched, Su Mo turned into a beam of light and disappeared into the distant sky. It will take a long time. Seeing Su Mo completely disappear from sight, Luo Shi murmured in a low voice. There was an inexplicable light in his eyes. Just like last time. Only when he reached a height of thousands of feet did Su Mo choose to travel through reincarnation, and his body completely disappeared into nothingness. The next moment. Reincarnation shuttle, start. Please select the level of traveling through the reincarnation world. The system prompt sounded. 2-star reincarnation world. Su Mo said without hesitation. With his current cultivation level, entering a 1-star world would not be very useful. The 1-star reincarnation world corresponds to the highest level of the main world, which is only the Yuheng realm. There are no monsters in the Tianquan realm for him to hunt and upgrade. Host, please note that the time flow rate in the 2-star reincarnation world is 1 day equals 100 days. Whether to conduct a 2-star reincarnation world shuttle. Has the speed of time changed? Su Mo's eyes flickered. In a 1-star reincarnation world, the speed of time flows is 100 years per second. In a 2-star reincarnation world, 1 day is equal to 100 days. In other words, Su Mo only has 3 months left in the real world, which translates to more than 9,000 days, or 24 years, in the reincarnation world. In the last reincarnation world, he spent 23 years to achieve the Yuheng realm. Then in this reincarnation world, he must cultivate to the Tianxian or even Tianshu realm within 24 years. For no reason, Su Mo felt a sense of urgency. It seems that even the experience in the reincarnation world is not as sufficient as imagined. But 24 years is enough to maintain the original cultivation level and travel through time and space. Reincarnation World Life Simulator, start! Su Mo murmured. Before we begin, we naturally have to look at what kind of life we will experience in the world of reincarnation. Reincarnation World Life Simulator is now open. 0 years old, you were born. You are the eldest son of the current Taoist leader, with a noble status and countless followers. From the day he was born, strange phenomena appeared in the sky. Endless sword energy spontaneously entangled him. Within a radius of 100 miles, thousands of swords chirped non-stop. You actually have an innate sword body that is rarely seen in a century. At the age of 3, a magic sword fell from the sky and recognized its master. The word Shaojiu was engraved on the hilt. The whole Taoist sect was shocked and said that you will definitely be the chosen one to change the situation of humans and demons. At the age of 5, your talent for swordsmanship began to show, and you easily mastered the basic swordsmanship of Taoism. The Taoist Grand Elder is very pleased and has come out of seclusion to find the ultimate medicine for you to improve your physique. At the age of 6, you were inspired by a glance at the setting sun and created a supreme sword technique. Your reputation as a genius gradually spread far and wide. At the age of 8, you defeated your personal guard with a single sword strike during a sparring match. At the age of 9, the Taoist sect held a competition for young disciples. You easily swept away your peers, and no one could stand up to you. At the age of 10, you have no rivals among your peers, and you start looking for the older generation to learn sword skills. At the age of 11, you have already mastered all the secrets, Taoist techniques, and swordsmanship of Taoism. Your teacher is disappointed and has nothing more to teach you. At the age of 12, you were extremely talented and had great potential. You swept the world. Even among the older generation of disciples, few could withstand your sword strike. At the age of 13, you left the Taoist sect, asked the world for swords, and began to slay demons and monsters along the way. At the age of 14, you have become famous all over the world. Your hands are stained with the blood of countless monsters. You have made a great reputation by killing monsters and frightened other monsters. At the age of 15, the young master of the northern Xianyuan family, Xianyuan Luoyun, appeared out of nowhere. She killed the demon king of the demon clan with one sword and became famous throughout the world. The two of you have become famous and are known as the two most outstanding people in the world. Who will be the new leader of the human race has become the most concerned issue in the world. At the age of 16, Xianyuan Luoyun formally asked you for a sword. You smiled disdainfully. In your heart, you never regarded her as an opponent. Since you were invincible among your peers at the age of 10, you have lost interest in fighting with other kids. In your eyes, there is only this vast world left. You draw your sword to kill all the demons in the world, slay the demon emperor, bring peace and prosperity to the world, and completely solve the problem of humans and demons. Instead of pointing the sword at the little girl, Xianyuan Luoyun stamped her feet in anger, glared at you angrily, and said, "I'll teach you a lesson." At the age of 17, you still can't avoid fighting with Xianyuan Luoyun. This is not your personal wish, but the trend of the times. The Xianyuan family and the Taoist sect want to compete for the position of leader of the righteous sect. As the leader of the younger generation of the Taoist sect, you have no choice but to fight. Soon it was your and Xianyuan Luoyun's turn to go on stage. You stood with your hands behind your back, looking calm and confident. You were too proud to take the initiative. You said to let Xianyuan Luoyun take 3 moves. Xianyuan Luoyun sneered and said nothing. The next moment, a bright sword light streaked across the sky. You were horrified and tried to resist hastily, only then did you realize that you had underestimated Xianyuan Luoyun. The 3-move agreement is of course invalid. After 1 move, your hair will be disheveled and you will be in a mess. The whole righteous alliance burst into laughter, and for a moment you became the laughingstock of everyone. Your mood is already unstable, your face is pale. I kept thinking back to what I had just said. The disdain and ridicule of the Xianyuan family, as well as the disappointed looks of the Taoists, keep emerging in your mind. You feel an emotion you've never experienced before, and you didn't know it was called embarrassment. Later in the battle with Xianyuan Luoyun, you inevitably fell into a disadvantage. That battle was earth-shattering, and the mountains and rivers were shattered. You finally exhausted all your means and used the Taoist secret skill Heaven and Earth Sword, but you were still defeated. At 17 you failed. You who were born invincible, now you have tasted failure for the first time. And you were defeated by a peer whom you looked down upon, a woman who was 2 years younger than you. You lost your soul and lost your swordsmanship in one battle. You start to think back to the scene of that defeat. The disappointment of the Taoist sect. The Xianyuan family's wanton ridicule. Xianyuan Luoyuan's natural talent. And your embarrassment. You often start to lose focus and mutter to yourself, "If only I hadn't pretended so much that day. I wish I could draw my sword like that on that day. If only I could use that move against the enemy that day." Unfortunately, there is no if. This is almost a devastating blow to you who have had a smooth life since childhood. You begin to lose your temper. At the age of 18, you lost your swordsmanship and dared not hold the sword anymore. You were hidden by the Taoist sect and avoided going out. In the same year, because you were too lazy, Xiaojiu also left you and disappeared, which made you feel even more depressed. At 19, you started drinking all day and stopped managing your image. Xianyuan Luoyun came to you several times to express her apologies to you. But you regarded this as a mockery of you, and you avoided it. At the age of 20, you spent 3 years transforming from the most dazzling genius to a complete waste. You begin to be despised by the Taoist sect and they drive you out. You smiled bitterly, and suddenly you didn't know what the things you had been trying so hard to protect for the first half of your life were. This year, you began your wandering life. When you go out, you are in tattered clothes and disheveled hair. He was also looked down upon by the world, which caused a lot of trouble. There is always a little follower following you behind you. You don't need to think to know that it is Xianyuan Luoyun. You were cold and indifferent to her. But she is worried about you and always follows you from a distance. 21 years old, you hardly spoke to Xianyuan Luoyun in a year. The food and drink expenses on the road were all paid for by Xianyuan Luoyun. No matter what happens on the road, Xianyuan Luoyun will help you to make it right. You have mixed feelings. Not only do you not feel the slightest bit of gratitude, but you feel overwhelmed. Xiaojiu has left you, and you are now a complete useless person. You know, if Xianyuan Luoyun continues to follow you, it will be even harder for you to regain your swordsmanship. At the age of 21, when Xianyuan Luoyun once again helped you, your self-esteem was greatly frustrated. Finally, you could no longer bear it and scolded her. What greeted you was her bold confession to you, saying that she had admired you for a long time. You just felt it was ridiculous and left a sentence, "Even if I like a demon girl, I will definitely not like you." Left with regret. Xianyuan Luoyun stood there in a daze, and indeed, no one caught up with him. After you left for a long time, I felt a little lost. At the age of 21, you began your wandering life. During this year, you have met many people, experienced many things, and suffered the ups and downs of life. Until you meet another woman, she changes your life. At the age of 21, you met a woman in green, and she changed your life. Before you met her, you didn't know what love was, nor did you know what love at first sight was. After you meet her, you know. Even though Xianyuan Luoyun is the most beautiful woman in the world, it still can't make your heart ripple. But the woman in front of me did it easily. At the age of 21, I went to the world's stunning banquet and saw the beauty of the world. You began to follow the green-shirted woman silently, doing what Xianyuan Luoyun had done to you before. The woman in green had already noticed your presence, but her expression remained indifferent, and she ignored you. But you seemed to be attracted by it, and become more and more obsessed with her. You originally thought that there might never be an opportunity to communicate. Until you were attacked by a demon king, the woman in green took the initiative to rescue you. You will know that she is so powerful. The girl in green turned around and smiled charmingly. She advised you to leave, but you were stubborn. I became more and more obsessed with her. You protected her all the way, and on the way you regained your swordsmanship and retrained your swordsmanship for her. Your cultivation advances by leaps and bounds, and you will soon return to your peak. It's a pity that Xiaojiu never came back. After that, the woman in green never said a word to you again. But her face seems to appear in your dreams for all eternity. It's like fate has destined you to fall in love with her. At the age of 22, you stood up again and became the most dazzling and eye-catching person in the world again. But he is no longer a genius of Taoism, but the demon lord of the demon race. You will then know that the beautiful lady in green is actually the most amazing demon emperor in history. She is the youngest demon emperor in the history of the demon race, and also the most legendary and brilliant demon emperor. When you were driven out of the Taoist sect, you wandered in the world for another 3 years. All the things you encountered on the road and the cold stares you received from the world have made you extremely disappointed with the human race. At this moment, you not only admire the woman in green, but are also deeply impressed by her demeanor. I am willing to follow him, and I will never regret falling into the demon tribe, even if I die 100 times. 23 years old, the secret of the woman in green shirt being a transvestite can no longer be hidden. Because his cultivation and talent were so extraordinary, he obtained a unique secret method from a secret place. The world envied him, and both humans and demons jointly attacked him. The Qingqiu Demon Fox clan, to which the green-shirt woman belonged, became the target of public criticism. At the age of 24, the woman in green was betrayed by her tribe and was secretly poisoned with the 9 nether soul-breaking powder. The demon emperor's body was destroyed, and his cultivation was completely lost within 30 days. For a time, the woman in green had enemies all over the world. You carried the woman in green on your back and escorted her all the way, leading her out of the encirclement. In the end, he was stopped by Xian Yuan Luoyan's sword. 25 years old, Xian Yuan Luoyan's eyes were red, and she asked you coldly, "Why did you fall into the demon clan?" You can't answer, and you don't want to answer. In the end, you inevitably had a war. You meet your lifelong enemy again, and you are still no match for her. She has become stronger than before. With a more invincible posture, I can easily defeat you. You feel bitter in your heart, but accept it calmly. Kill her and I will let you go. Xian Yuan Luoyan pointed his sword at the woman in green and said coldly. You shook your head, protecting the woman in green behind you and blocking the sword. Why? Xian Yuan Luoyan's voice was a little hoarse. You answer, she saved me. I saved you too. More than once. Xian Yuan Luoyan's voice trembled a little, and she was unable to utter the last sentence. If I had continued to follow you that day, would I be the one staying with you now? Xian Yuan Luoyan asked. You shook your head and said nothing. There is no answer to this question. In the end, she was unable to draw her sword, and left in despair, letting you and the woman in green go. At 25 you died. You did not die under Xian Yuan Luoyan's sword, nor did you die at the hands of other demon emperors and demon lords. But he died at the hands of the woman in green shirt. You escorted her all the way, but in the end she killed you by tearing your heart out. You turned around in surprise, and her beautiful face was smiling charmingly. I never asked why. This reincarnation world life simulation has ended. Once reincarnation begins, it cannot be stopped, and there is a danger of death. Do you want to start the reincarnation path? Seeing that the life simulation in the reincarnation world finally ended, Su Emmo fell into a long silence. What the hell is this bloody TV show? Su Emmo is somewhat skeptical about life. There are too many flaws in the reincarnation simulation experience to complain about all at once. The most amazing thing is that Xiaojiu abandoned him in the middle of the relationship. So once you travel through reincarnation, you will bring your current physical condition and Xiaojiu's equipment with you? Will the original body also awaken his physique and wear his equipment? But I don't have his strength, nor his life, and I have a little bit of intelligence reduction, and there are not enough cheats. I can't even get rid of that Xian Yuan Luoyan. What a failure! Su Emmo couldn't help but shook his head. No wonder Xiaojiu abandoned him. The next moment, Su Emmo chose to start traveling. Please select a specific shuttle time period. The system asked. 17 years old, on the eve of the decisive battle with Xian Yuan Luoyan. Su Emmo replied without any hesitation. In the life simulation track of the reincarnation world, the encounter with Xian Yuan Luoyan at the age of 17 was the turning point of everything. The road ahead is basically smooth sailing and there is nothing to change. He was only 17 years old at this time, and the 17 years old he traveled through in the reincarnation was just right. Don't start from the doll again. Start shuttling! The next moment, Suemo said. The ultimate mission is now released, kill Zhao Ziluo. You can return after completing the task. Reincarnation begins. Good luck to the host. Taoism, in a luxurious side hall exclusively for Taoist soldiers. At this time, the leader of the younger generation of the entire Taoist sect, Suemo, known as the hope of mankind, is slowly waking up from his bed. Today he will represent Taoism and participate in a battle with the younger generation of the Xianyuan family. Two transcendent forces are fighting for power over the human race. Who will be the one to hold the reins? It can be said that today's battle with Xianyuan world is of vital importance to the entire Tao sect. This will directly affect the rise and fall of the Taoist sect in the future. At this time, Suemo, who was highly expected by the Taoist sect. Today he slept in for a rare night. Lying quietly in bed, his aura began to change slightly. In just a blink of an eye, his aura began to rise steadily. Her temperament also seemed to have changed into a different person in an instant, ethereal and otherworldly. After a while, he became extremely charming and elegant, like a banished immortal. Even his facial features looked more delicate and handsome, closer to perfection. At this time, Suemo had just woken up, and his previous consciousness had disappeared into nothingness. It seems like I have been sleeping for a long time. Now I suddenly woke up, and a strong tearing feeling hit my mind. It took Suemo a long time to adjust to the light in front of him, as if he had just woken up from a dream. Sumo's long eyelashes moved, and she opened her eyes as bright as the starry sky. There was a flash of suddenness in his eyes. Fortunately, there is no one like Luo Shi in this world. Suemo breathed a sigh of relief when he woke up. What he was most worried about was that another, Luo Shi, would appear in the reincarnation world. This would greatly affect his judgment. Originally, he suspected that Xianyuan Luoyun might be the one, but after scanning the memories of the original body, he found that it was not the case. This puts him at ease. Xianyuan Luoyun? I'm going to compete with you today. Don't worry, I will teach you how to practice sword later. And Zhao Ziluo, who is this? Is it the woman in green? If so, killing her would be a good idea. Suemo murmured to himself, looking calm and composed. For him, as long as it didn't involve Luo Shi, he had nothing to fear. Let's sort out the memories of the original body first, Suemo murmured. When I just woke up, the first thing I did was to scan my mind to see if there was anyone similar to Luo Shi. At this moment, there are still a lot of memories stored in my mind that I haven't had time to sort out. Some useless memories of minor details were naturally suppressed deep in Sumo's mind by his huge mental power. Only information about some key time nodes is extracted. At this time, Suemo first quickly scanned the basic information of the entire world, and absorb and integrate the original body's accumulation of swordsmanship and insights into Taoism and Taoism over the past decades. Ding, you are receiving the worldview of the Yaoyuan continent. Ding, you are receiving the perfect level Taoist basic swordsmanship martial arts experience inheritance. Due to your extremely high level of swordsmanship, it has been innovated and the potential of this swordsmanship has been greatly improved. Swordsmanship perception plus 1000, experience value plus 100,000. Ding, you are receiving the experience inheritance of the minor success level of the Heaven and Earth Sword martial arts. Because your swordsmanship realm is extremely high, it has automatically been cultivated to the great success level. Swordsmanship perception plus 10,000, experience value plus 1 million. Ding, you have received the Taoist 72 Talisman Secret Inheritance, experience points plus 100,000. You have gained Taoist Talisman Mastery. Ding, you have received the inheritance of 36 Taoist Magics, experience points plus 100,000. You have gained Mastery of Taoist Magics. Ding, the idle experience is passed on, your level plus 10. In just a moment, As these memories were absorbed, Sumo's eyes lit up with enlightenment. The aura at this moment was slightly deeper, with a Taoist touch of transcendence. Sumo was a little shocked. He didn't expect that relying on the martial arts experience inherited from his original body, he could directly win 10 levels in a row? And reach the Tianji realm? It's a pity that my original body was useless after I turned 17, and my cultivation progress has not improved much, otherwise I would have been able to just hang up until I died. Sumo yells. You should know that the time of reincarnation is counted from the day when his consciousness officially awakens and he descends. That is to say, from now on, he can stay in the reincarnation world for another 24 years. It was enough for him to reach the top. Get to the maximum level as soon as possible and go back within 5 years. Sumo's eyes flashed slightly, and he set a small goal. By extracting the original body's memory, Sumo knew that the reincarnation world he was in now was called Yaoyuan Continent, but this was the name that was changed in the Middle Ages. In ancient times, the Yaoyuan Continent was not called the Yaoyuan Continent, but was called the Tianyuan Continent. At that time, the human race still ruled the entire Tianyuan Continent, and the demon race was just a race ruled, enslaved and trafficked by humans, living in a remote corner. It lasted throughout the ancient and prehistoric times. It was not until the Middle Ages that a brilliant demon emperor appeared, leading the entire demon beast to awaken quickly, changing the situation of the demon race's decline. At that time, the demon race ruled the entire world and was fully capable of completely wiping out the human race. But for some unknown reason, the demon emperor did not kill them all. Just drive the human race to remote areas, prohibit them from crossing the border, and do not invade each other. And the Tianyuan continent has been changed to the Yaoyuan continent since then. And until the demon emperor mysteriously disappeared, he reappeared just as he came. Now that the demons were freed from their restraints, they launched revenge on the humans, seeking revenge for their tragic fate when they were once enslaved by humans and used as food for their mounts. They also began to enslave humans and treat them as slaves and food. Until the human race launched a desperate counterattack. The last period of the entire Middle Ages was the most turbulent and dark period for the human race. Countless humans became food for the demons, and almost half of them were eaten. Until the ancient times, countless sages and leaders of the human race emerged and led the human race to reawaken. The human race finally stood up again. Until now, it has become a situation where humans and demons are on equal footing. The two tribes have an irreconcilable hatred and have been fighting each other from ancient times to the present, and have long been at loggerheads. The strongest of the demon race is called the Demon Emperor, and below him are the Demon Saint, Demon Lord, Demon King, Demon General, and Demon Soldier 1-9th level. The strongest person of the human race is called the Human Emperor, and below him are the Saint, the Venerable, the King, the General, and the Soldier 1-9th level. This continent is really huge. It's not weaker than the Earth after the spiritual energy was revived. It's almost the size that can only be achieved when the Earth has reached its peak state. It's worthy of being a 2-star world. Sumo muttered to himself, and understood the worldview of the entire Yaoyuan continent. I feel so many emotions in my heart. The demon race is not a monster with low intelligence that is dominated by instinctive desires, but is more like the bastard girls in the main world. Their intelligence is not inferior to that of humans, but their personality traits are more distinct. For example, the fox demon clan is cunning and charming, the wolf demon clan is united and perseverant, and the cat demon clan is sensitive and suspicious. Most of the body has human characteristics, and some beast characteristics. Logically speaking, we shouldn't be so hostile to the human race. But now, as the hatred continues with each generation, it is impossible to reconcile. Humans and demons are on the verge of each other, and it is impossible to say who is right or wrong. We can only say that it is a matter of natural selection and the fittest survive, and they just eat each other. It was the unprecedented demon emperor from the Middle Ages who brought about the best situation. In the current Yaoyuan continent, the Yao clan is still very powerful. However, the demon tribe is not united internally, and each tribe exists in different groups, restraining each other. Mainly composed of the Chinchou Fox Demon Clan, the Heishan Tiger Demon Clan, and the Medusa Clan. But they all have a common enemy, the human race. Only in this way can the delicate balance between the two races be maintained. This world is far more exciting than I imagined, but during the reincarnation simulation, I was busy watching all those love stories. The reincarnation simulation misled me. But it may also be because the original body is not strong enough and cannot make contact. Su Mo yells. With the original body's current strength, before Su Mo's consciousness awakened, he had just entered the realm of kings, which corresponds to the demon clan as the demon king. Although the original body inherited his ambition to resolve the chaotic situation of human-demon conflict. But looking at the entire Yaoyuan continent, it is far from being first-rate. Can only dominate among the younger generation. But most people of the same age have only reached the third level of warrior cultivation. Therefore, it is normal for the original person to look down on people of the same generation. It was not until 5 years later that the original body entered the realm of Demon Lord and had the strength to escort the woman in green all the way. However, he was able to evade the pursuit of countless demon lords, demon saints, and even the demon emperor, and lead the green-shirt woman out of the siege. If the green-shirt woman hadn't left behind some terrifying trick, or if her cultivation hadn't been completely lost, that can only be because the original protagonist's aura was too strong. After all, the original body did not upgrade the system, but used all his qualifications, equipment, and luck. In the previous reincarnation world, the achievement of a savior could bring protection from heaven, not to mention that there was another person favored by heaven later. Although he cannot be compared with the true child of destiny, his luck is far beyond that of ordinary people. And in Su Mo's opinion, the destined child of this world is most likely Xianyuan Luoyun. After all, during the reincarnation simulation, her protagonist aura was so strong that it almost changed the original body's life. Yes and no, we'll know when we see it during the competition later. Xianyuan Luoyun should be at the peak of the Demon King level. Su Mo estimated that. At this time, he had gained the experience points of his original body's 17 years of idleness and had been promoted to the Tianji realm, but he didn't know what realm it corresponded to in the Yaoyuan continent. Su Mo thought about it, and the next moment he opened the property panel. Name Su Mo. Level 7181, early stage of Demon Lord. Experience value 23,000/10000000. Reputation 10,000, famous as a genius. Physique, innate sword body. Luck, God favors you. Talent, sword realm LV5 sword power. Skills, heaven and earth sword, Taoist talisman mastery, Taoist magic mastery, invisibility, thousand faces, mutual support, heavenly heart sword technique. Items: white Taoist robe 1, Taoist manual, Taoist soldier self-cultivation, vitality pill 96, life-saving pill 3. Evaluation: few rivals among peers. Does the Tianji realm correspond to the Demon Lord realm? Looking at the attribute panel, Su Mo murmured. So, the Demon Emperor is a big boss of level 90 or so? If Zhao Ziliu is really the Demon Emperor in green shirt, then this mission is really difficult to complete. Su Mo sighed that the strength of this world was far beyond his expectations. Corresponding to the Earth, it means Tianji and Tianxian are everywhere. Tianquan is worse than a dog. However, the stronger this world is, the better it is for him. He might be able to cultivate to the maximum level directly, and then the crisis on Earth will be easily resolved. Next is the competition with Xianyuan Luoyun. It's time to set off. Su Mo murmured, and the next moment left the room. At this time, the maids of the Dao sect looked at the Dao sect member Hope, who was walking towards them. She looked a little dazed, with a blush on her cheeks, and whispered, "Why do I feel that the young master is much more handsome today?" Who said it wasn't? He seemed to have become a different person all of a sudden. Su Emo remained calm and followed the original body's habits and movements. He walked towards the main hall of the Taoist sect without looking around. In the original body's memory, when there was a call for important events, they usually gathered in the main hall. This time, the competition with the Xianyuan family is hosted by the Taoist sect. The competition will be held in the Taoist martial arts field. The clothing and architecture of the Yaoyuan continent are much more developed than those of the previous reincarnation world. It is somewhat similar to the prosperous Tang dynasty in the main world. The maids we met along the way were all wearing clothes that were full of antique style and unique flavor. The buildings along the road are magnificent, with carved railings and jade carvings. They look elegant and majestic, and have extremely high artistic value. Soon, Su Emo walked along the way and met an acquaintance from the original Taoist sect. Just like in my memory, we greeted each other in a familiar way. Fortunately, as a Taoist soldier, his original body was too powerful among his peers and had almost no friends. Su Emo arrived at the main hall without any obstruction. At this time, the leader of the sect and a group of elders were already waiting there. The sect leader had been frowning, but he heaved a sigh of relief when he saw Su Emo coming. The leader of the Dao sect is only a venerable, and is not the strongest person in the entire Dao sect. Above them, there are 3 great elders who have the cultivation of saints. And the old antique from the previous era, the human emperor who has never appeared in the world of Taoism. The entire human race only has 3 human emperors, while the demon race has 5 demon emperors. However, the demons are not united, and the demon emperors themselves have enemies, so the 2 sides maintain a tenuous balance. Coming? The Taoist leader snorted coldly and looked at Su Emo unhappily. Obviously he was unhappy with Su Mo's lateness. Su Emo nodded calmly and didn't say much. The leader of the Taoist sect, who is also Su Mo's father in this life, has always been lukewarm towards Su Emo. Because Su Emo is so handsome, the Taoist leader always thinks he might not be his biological son. In addition, Su Mo's mother died early, almost when Su Emo was just born. Therefore, the leader of the Taoist sect has always blamed Su Emo for this. From childhood to adulthood, I basically didn't have much affection for Su Emo, and I was always cold and indifferent to him. Because Su Mo's talent was too strong, he was trained as a Taoist soldier. Weapons used to fight against demons. After all, before today's battle, Su Emo was the most dazzling genius. He has reached the level of a king at the age of 17, which is unprecedented in history. It is very likely that he will become the emperor in the future. Let's go. In today's battle, we must succeed, not fail. The Taoist leader flicked his sleeves and said in a cold voice. This is also the most common phrase that Su Mo's original body has heard. During the 17 years of being idle, Su Mo's original body basically had no life or childhood of his own. He practiced martial arts and swordplay all day long, cultivated talismans and Taoism, understood the habits of monsters, and learned how to slay monsters. From childhood to adulthood, whether it was practicing swordsmanship or slaying monsters, success was the only option, failure was not. Maybe it is because I grew up in such a long-term high-pressure environment. That's why he completely lost his swordsmanship after his defeat in the battle with Xianyuan Luoyuan. Master, you are joking. With the young master's ability, it would be easy for him to defeat a woman like Xianyuan Luoyuan, right? The deputy sect leader stroked his beard and laughed, trying to smooth things over. The rest of the elders agreed. Obviously, they have all gotten used to the way the sect master and Su Emo get along with each other. I hope so. The sect leader said this, but the corners of his mouth also slightly raised. Obviously, he still has confidence in Su Emo in his heart. Soon, everyone flew on their swords and arrived at the training ground. The Xianyuan family had been waiting in the distant sky for a long time. During the reincarnation simulation, the information revealed is very vague, with only some core plots. In fact, the full name of this competition is Taoist Orthodox Competition. Not only the Xianyuan family came. There are also Zhuge family, Dongfan family, Sima family, Shangguan family, Gongsun family, etc. The 8 most powerful families of the human race all sent representatives to bear witness. The 8 great families and the Taoist sect are the pillars of the entire human race's fight against the demon race. The strongest families are the Xianyuan family and the Zhuge family, each of which has a living emperor. As for the Taoist sect, there is only one, which has always been the leader of the righteous path and commands the 8 major families. The Tao sect is like a champion, accepting challenges from the other 8 great families. Every 50 years, every noble family has the opportunity to challenge the Taoist sect for its orthodoxy. This time, it was the Xianyuan family that challenged the Taoist sect for its orthodoxy. The outcome of this battle will largely determine which sect will lead the new Taoism. The Su family has maintained the orthodoxy of Taoism for more than 200 years. Ever since the Su family produced a brilliant human emperor in the last era, they have maintained the orthodox position of Taoism to this day. Now, the ancestor of the Su family has not been born for 100 years. The Su family's deterrence is not as strong as before, and rumors are spreading everywhere. The Su family urgently needs this battle for Taoist orthodoxy to consolidate their own position. Not only do you have to win beautifully. The battle for Taoist orthodoxy was divided into 3 phases. The struggle among the younger generation, the struggle among the middle-aged generation, and the struggle among the older generation. Each generation has a representative to fight. The younger generation of the Su family, it was Su Enmo who went into battle. The dispute among the middle-aged generation is for the leader of the Taoist sect. The dispute among the older generation is between the supreme elders. According to the original prediction of the Taoist sect, the younger and older generations will definitely get points. As for the head of the Xianyuan family, it is a recognized fact that he is stronger than the leader of the Taoist sect. And obviously Su Mo's original body, representing the younger generation of the Su family, lost to Xianyuan Luo Yun in this competition. This caused the Su family to lose to the Xianyuan family in the Taoist battle. In the end, it was the emperor of the Su family who stepped forward and paid a huge price to the human emperor of the Xianyuan family, which temporarily stabilized the orthodox position of Taoism. However, the Su family also lost all face, and its dominance over the aristocratic families was no longer as strong as before. That's why Su Mo's original body was so despised by the Taoist sect. After 3 years of setbacks, he was even regarded as a disgrace to Taoism and was expelled from the sect. Even though the middle-aged generation lost the competition, who told him that he was the leader of the Taoist sect? If we don't let the younger generation take the blame, should we let Su Mo, his father, take the blame? A century has passed, and now the Xianyuan family has once again raised the issue of the orthodoxy of Taoism. Naturally, everyone in the Tao sect will agree, and fellow Taoists can bear witness. The Taoist leader said loudly. As the opening remarks sounded, a group of Taoist disciples and major families fell from the sky. The audience seats in the martial arts arena were already filled with chairs. Representatives from various major families sat on the ground, sipping tea calmly. The Taoist leader sat in the main seat. Following them were a group of Taoist elders and the Supreme Elder. And Su Mo, as a member of the younger generation, could only stand quietly behind. According to the tradition of previous years, there will be a battle among 3 generations. Now, it is time for the younger generation to take the stage. Finally, the opening remarks were over. Under the watchful eyes of the public, Su Mo and Xianyuan Luo Yun each stepped onto the stage and stood with swords in hand. The moment he saw the girl in front of him, Su Mo couldn't help but have a strange look in his eyes. He pressed it into his eyes at will. The girl in front of him, Su Mo, was certain that she had never seen her before. Her skin was whiter than snow, and she was wearing a white and yellow Taoist robe that fitted her perfectly. Her flawless face was stunning. Her eyebrows were slightly curved, her nose was straight, and her facial features were also perfect. Her expression was serene and indifferent, like a sea without tides, quiet, without a ripple, and lifeless as if it had lost focus. Everything is fine, but it seems to lack some vitality. Moreover, Su Mo vaguely felt that the girl in front of her gave her a familiar feeling, as if she had seen her somewhere. But when I think about it carefully, some of them seem to be true but I can't remember them. The next moment, Xianyuan Luoyun's information appeared before his eyes. Name, Xianyuan Luoyun. Age 16. Physique, Chaos Divine Body incomplete. Character, Child of Destiny. Level, 67, 69, Late King Realm. Skills, Xianyuan Sword Technique, Xianyuan Divine Art, Xianyuan Body Technique. Comment, this girl is in her prime and seems to be always looking for her other half. It is indeed the Late King Realm. Su Emo thought to himself that Xianyuan Luoyun's realm was exactly the same as his previous guess. But is there another Chaos Divine Body? Why is it incomplete? Su Emo was a little confused. Moreover, Luck is actually the child of destiny rather than the child of fate. What is the difference between the two? Just when Su Emo was puzzled, the system prompt sounded. Ding, there is only one child of destiny. There is only one in a great age. His fate is full of misfortunes in the early days, and he will face a life-and-death catastrophe. If he survives it safely, he will almost certainly not die young. The child of destiny is not unique. He comes with a mission. His early life is smooth sailing and he is protected by destiny. After completing his mission, his luck plummets, and he is very likely to fall. After hearing the system's explanation, Sumo's eyes flashed with realization. Destiny Child, if you can't kill him in the early stage, you will be tortured to death. If you survive, you will become the protagonist. The Child of Destiny is just the opposite. Everything goes smoothly before the mission is completed. But once the mission is completed, he is likely to be martyred or face a major nerf, just like the second male lead. The destined person? I just don't know what Xianyuan Luoyun's mission is. He remembered that in the previous reincarnation world, Xiao Luoxi was the child of destiny. But in this world, unexpectedly, Xianyuan Luoyun was just the child of destiny who came with a mission. It may fall in disgrace in the future, or it may survive but be severely nerfed. Everything is unknown. You seem to have changed a lot. Xianyuan Luoyun tilted his head and murmured softly. Her eyes were as dark as ink and seemed to have no focus. Only when he looked at Su Emo did his expression show some spirit. Yeah? Su Emo said indifferently, without comment. I always thought you were just taking advantage of your weapon, but now, your sword seems to be enjoying it, more than ever before. Xianyuan Luoyun nodded his head and said seriously. Su Emo looked at Xiao Jiu in his hand and said nothing. He has been idle for many years, and now, Shijio is truly in his hands. The battle for the younger generation's orthodoxy begins now. An elder of the Zhuge family spoke up. The dispute over Taoist orthodoxy initiated by the Xianyuan family was judged by the Zhuge family. Go ahead and make your move. I'll give you 3 moves. Su Emo stood with his hands behind his back, dressed in a misty white robe, with an indescribably otherworldly and indifferent expression. Sumo's voice was not loud, but it was clearly heard throughout the Taoist martial arts arena. Upon hearing this, many senior masters from aristocratic families almost choked on their tea. For a moment, the people in the audience had different reactions and their expressions were extremely wonderful. The young master of your Taoist sect may not be very old, but he has a rather arrogant tone. In the audience, the head of the Xianyuan family sneered with disdain. My son is too confident in himself. He has been invincible among his peers since he was a child. Now he is unwilling to take the initiative to attack his peers. I am sorry to make you laugh. The Taoist leader said this, but his tone was quite complacent. Being overconfident is arrogance. What if I tell you that my daughter has been promoted to the Late King Realm? The patriarch of the Xianyuan family snorted coldly. Brother Xianyuan, don't be ridiculous. How can there be a 16-year-old in the Late King Realm? It's totally unheard of. The Taoist leader was stunned for a moment, then shook his head and laughed, with a look of disbelief on his face. But inside, I was already filled with doubts. Xianyuan Luoyun was carrying a magical weapon that concealed his aura, so even he couldn't tell his specific level of cultivation. But thinking that although he was not good at dealing with him, his son, whom he was proud of, had only just entered the realm of king. I felt that this was impossible, absolutely impossible. How could I, Xianyuan Xiaotian, joke about something like this? My Xianyuan family is not like your Taoist sect. The younger generation is too impetuous. Once they have achieved a little success, they will publicize it vigorously, and really think of themselves as some great geniuses. The leader of the Xianyuan sect sneered and shook his head, which was already a ruthless mockery. You! The Taoist leader was furious. But I don't know how to refute it. Because the Xianyuan family is indeed much more low-key than them. Moreover, he couldn't beat the head of the Xianyuan family, and couldn't do anything to him. What if it is the middle-aged generation's turn to compete later, and he loses miserably? Okay, Yuner, there's no need to hide your cultivation anymore. Let your uncles take a good look at your current realm. Xianyuan Xiaotian didn't even look at the Taoist leader's expression and smiled faintly. Could there really be a 16-year-old in the late king realm? Everyone couldn't believe it at this moment, and looked at Xianyuan Luoyun in doubt. I saw that in the field, I heard Xianyuan Xiodian's words. Xianyuan Luoyun nodded slightly, and the next moment, it seemed as if some bottleneck in his body had loosened. Boom! A huge momentum began to rise into the sky. The fluctuations of the aura belonging to the late king realm were vented out without reservation. It turns out that he is actually in the late king realm. Such a young late king realm, it is unheard of. Oh my God, this woman has the appearance of a human emperor. Congratulations, Brother Xianyuan, for having this unicorn child. In my opinion, the position of the Orthodox Taoist sect should fall into the hands of the Xianyuan family. There was deep shock in the eyes of several major families, and they all congratulated him at this time. Snort. The Taoist leader's face turned pale and blue. The dispute over Taoist orthodoxy has not yet ended, but people are already congratulating us in advance? Then where would he put his reputation as the leader of the sect? But he could do nothing about it, because if the younger generation failed, he is no match for Xianyuan Xiaotian, so he is doomed to fail in this battle for the orthodoxy of Taoism. Amour's fighting power is unparalleled, far surpassing those of his level. If he attacks with all his strength, there is a chance for him to win. The Taoist leader kept comforting himself in his heart, hoping that Su Mo would not make the same mistake again and ask for 3 more moves. Instead, he used all his strength to explode his small universe. Now take back what you just said, and we can still have a fair fight. Xianyuan Luoyun said. Because as far as she knew, Su Mo was only in the early stage of the king realm. Given the gap in realm, no matter how powerful he is, if he gives up 3 moves, he is basically doomed to lose. No need to say more, just do it. Su Mo said softly, his expression remained calm. It seemed that he was blind to the enormous power emanating from Xianyuan Luoyun. No matter how it changes, it won't cause the slightest ripple in his heart. You are unreasonable. I take back what I said before. You haven't changed at all. How dare you look down on me? Xianyuan Luoyun couldn't help feeling a little annoyed and glared at Su Mo in embarrassment. She always looks cold in front of outsiders, but for some reason, she always loses her mood easily when facing Su Mo. And I don't know if it was Xianyuan Luoyun's illusion. I always feel that when Su Mo says this now, he no longer has the arrogance and pride he once had. Instead, it becomes natural and as if it should be. This arrogant guy, hasn't he just become a little more handsome? What's the big deal? I must let him taste my power later. Xianyuan Luoyun shook his head secretly, throwing away the crazy idea that suddenly popped up in his mind. Seeing Su Mo still standing there, as expected. The next moment, Xianyuan Luoyun sneered and moved. Brush. Xianyuan Luoyun drew his sword, and in an instant, the wind and clouds surged, and golden light flashed. With one sword, heaven and earth lose their color. Su Mo looked straight into that gaze, standing with his hands behind his back, without making any movement, with a calm expression. Then he sighed softly. This rebellious son! What a rebellious son! He actually gave up 3 moves and just stood there like an idiot? The Taoist leader's beard was shaking with anger. He pointed at Suemo, who was still motionless in the middle of the field, with his trembling hands, which kept shaking. Master, calm down. A Taoist disciple nearby consoled him. But he had already turned his face away, as if he couldn't bear to watch what was happening next. Representatives from other noble families also sneered with disdain. It is said that the young master of the Taoist sect is also a rare young talent. But today, I see that he is just an arrogant young man who is fighting for his own pride. It's really a waste of the legend, it's so miraculous. I have to say that your Taoist public relations and publicity are really good. Alas, these days, don't believe in rumors or spread them. The representatives of the noble families shook their heads and sighed. Even many of them might not be able to resist Xian Yuan Luoyun's sword. And Su Mo is still standing there? Has this meant giving up resistance? Su Mo naturally didn't know what everyone was thinking. But with his current cultivation level, the whispers of the people around him were clearly heard by him. He smiled faintly, without any ripples in his heart. Given his current state of mind, the words of outsiders can no longer affect him in the slightest. He stood there quietly, looking at the mighty sword energy coming towards him. The reason why he didn't move was not because he was frightened, but because he was analyzing and studying this golden sword energy. Sword power? Not quite. It seems to be the power of Xian Yuan's sword itself. Su Mo murmured, a glimmer of understanding already in his eyes. Ding, you have observed the Xian Yuan sword qi. Because your swordsmanship is at an extremely high level, you have automatically comprehended the 10th style of Xian Yuan swordsmanship, the Golden Legend. Experience points plus 100,000, swordsmanship insights plus 1,000 inch. I hope you can bring me more surprises. Su Mo had almost finished learning, so he shook his head and laughed. When the sword energy was about to overwhelm him, Su Mo moved. At this moment, the sword on Su Mo's body rang loudly, and he easily broke through the sword force created by Xian Yuan Luoyun. At the same time, a terrifying sword intent burst out, tearing apart Xian Yuan Luoyun's sword intent lock. Running to chase the stars and the moon. Just as the golden sword energy was about to completely submerge him. His body had turned into a shadow and dodged easily. In fact, the reason why the sword energy of a sword cultivator is difficult to dodge is not because it is not fast enough or there is not enough time, but simply because it is impossible to dodge. Most powerful sword practitioners have sword energy that has the ability to force a hit. He would use the sword's will to firmly lock onto the enemy, and use the sword's force to restrain the enemy, making him feel unable to resist for a moment. They could only respond hastily, be forced to resist, or simply be unable to resist and be annihilated by the sword energy. But as long as the sword force breaks through and overwhelms the opponent's sword intent, the body was unhindered and could move freely, so it was naturally easy to dodge the golden sword energy. How is this possible? Xian Yuan Luoyun's pupils contracted. Obviously, she didn't expect Su Mo to be able to dodge the pressure of her Xian Yuan sword so easily. This sword is not bad, but the sword intent is not solid enough. A familiar voice suddenly sounded from behind Xian Yuan Luoyun. He commented calmly. So fast. Xian Yuan Luoyun's pupils contracted. Then I heard Su Mo's comments and was secretly shocked, because he was right about everything. Moreover, if Su Mo had not warned us just now, if she had acted secretly, she might not have had a chance now. But this, how is it possible? How could a guy who had just entered the King realm and was so arrogant and conceited be so strong? Xian Yuan Luoyun gritted his teeth and didn't have time to think about it. The next moment, he instinctively slashed his sword behind him. I saw a dazzling sword light flashing through the air. Without a doubt, Xian Yuan Luoyun's sword missed again. Where are you looking at? Su Mo appeared in the void, standing with his hands behind his back, dressed in spotless white, and said calmly, This sword is neither real nor empty. It is good enough that the sword intent is not dispersed even though the sword was drawn hastily. But the sword has lost its momentum and is still a little short of the mark. Su Emo commented that it was like a teacher teaching his students attentively. Just like he once said, he never regards his peers as his rivals. It turns out, it's actually true. It's never nonsense. But this. Xian Yuanluoyan's pretty face was a little pale, and she pursed her rosy lips. Her beautiful eyes turned red, and for a moment she began to doubt her life. Boom! As if in a state of rage, Xian Yuanluoyan swung out several more swords. The body flew high into the sky, turned into a meteor, and stabbed at Su Emo continuously. Su Emo dodged casually and commented, "The accuracy of this sword is a little off. The sword's power has all dissipated. This sword is flashy but not practical." Su Emo never drew his sword, just like taking a leisurely stroll in the garden. It was not a competition at all, but just giving instructions casually. It's not just 3 moves he gave up, it's 300 moves he gave up. Xian Yuanluoyan was so tired that he fell to the stage. His sword-holding hand was shaking, he was sweating profusely, and he was panting. At this time, she was already in a state of confusion. My eyes were red, and for a moment, an indescribable grievance surged in my heart. She had never forgotten him since she first saw him at the age of 8. It was as if the person who originally existed only in the dream suddenly appeared in reality. 2 years ago, she found him again and thought he still remembered her, but he had already forgotten her completely. She had been practicing sword fighting till now, just to be closer to him, closer. I thought I could finally stand in front of him. Even more than let him look up to her. But now, the distance seems to be getting farther and farther. Why? Su Emo sighed. He hated to see girls crying the most. How come she was just like Xiao Luoxi in the previous reincarnation world? Watch it. Su Emo said softly. The next moment, Su Emo drew his sword. Brush. All I saw was a dazzling golden sword energy, with extremely concentrated sword intent, and a sword force that seemed to be in a state of panic. Slashed towards Xian Yuanluoyan. Xian Yuanluoyan stood there in a daze, enveloped by the majestic sword force, and his body was unable to move at this moment. He could only watch the sword getting closer and closer to him. Boom! The sword energy whistled past my ears. The overwhelming sword energy barely brushed past her shoulder. Cut straight behind her. With this sword, the entire arena was split into 2. The sword energy continued to move towards the audience seats. As the battle began, the chattering representatives of the noble families in the audience were already so shocked that they were speechless. Now, looking at that magnificent sword, I was sweating profusely. Because of the powerful sword force brought by that sword, even they felt unable to resist. They wanted to withdraw, but were firmly locked by the sword intent, and their bodies seemed to be fixed in place. Just when they wanted to do everything they could to fight back. The golden sword energy disappeared just as it landed in front of the representatives of the aristocratic families. This? Why do I always feel like he did this on purpose? The representatives of the noble families were still in shock as they looked at the peerless figure in white. He raised his eyes nonchalantly, as if he had a telepathic connection with me, and his gaze swept across here indifferently. At this moment, everyone felt a sense of fear and horror, and were unable to utter a single word. Su Emo shook his head, then retracted his gaze and no longer looked at the crowd. Walked towards Xian Yuanluoyan, who was standing there in a daze. "Little friend, you still need to practice," Su Emo said softly. I patted her shoulder and passed her by. Xian Yuanluoyan was defeated. She stood there in despair. It felt like something in my heart was breaking and falling into a bottomless abyss. Her eyes were dim, as if they had lost their luster and no longer had any spirit. "Little friend, you still need to practice." Su Emo patted her shoulder and said softly. Then he passed her by. Xian Yuanluoyan's delicate body trembled, and the luster in her eyes gradually regained its luster. Her eyes were red, her lips were pursed, and her delicate face looked pitiful. Su Emo secretly shook his head, feeling deeply moved. How similar is Xian Yuanluoyan's appearance at this moment to the trajectory that his original body was going to take? I just hope that I won't be like the useless little person I originally was, who never recovered and lost his swordsmanship. As the battle came to an end. At this time, everyone in the audience had different expressions, and everyone was shocked. That boy's sword seemed to faintly condense the power of heaven and earth. He was able to resolve the battle so easily, so he must be at the venerable level without a doubt. Such a young venerable. Am I crazy, or is this world crazy? I originally thought that the Dao sect's previous promotion of their young master was just exaggeration, but now it seems. Loki, to Loki. A peerless evildoer with the cultivation of a venerable, but they insist on saying that he has just entered the realm of king. Oh, this sect is used to dealing with old silver coins, I have to admit it. We are really old. Such a young venerable will soon catch up with us in time. It's really terrifying, as if he has reproduced the peerless demeanor of the Su family's ancestor. If this child continues to grow, his future achievements will be limitless. The representatives of the noble families were secretly frightened, perhaps because they were frightened by Su Mo's glare. Changing the subject, everyone began praising Dao Men and Su Mo generously. Su Mo curled his lips, ignored the crowd of fence-sitters, and returned to the audience. The Taoist leader was very fond of this. At this time, his face was flushed, his head was held high, and his back was unconsciously straightened a lot. Amor, you did a good job. A hint of joy appeared on Su Feng's resolute face, completely different from the look on his face when he was scolding his rebellious son before, and he was about to go forward to meet him. But Su Mo just hummed indifferently and walked past him with a calm expression. Su Feng stood there in a daze, feeling a little embarrassed. He was about to scold with a stern face. Congratulations, sect master, for having this Qilin child, a true dragon son. The Dao sect will flourish in the hands of the Su family. Yes, a genius should behave like a genius, unruly and with character. I like that. There is also an unmarried girl at home. I wonder if it is okay. At this time, people from other noble families began to praise him. Su Feng didn't know what to say, so he smiled and said, I'm sorry to have made a fool of myself, my brothers. My son has a bad temper. Snort. However, at this moment, an uncoordinated voice came. Xianyuan Xiaotian just snorted coldly. Seeing Xianyuan Luoyun's distraught look, eyes that seemed to be about to spit fire swept towards Su Mo. Walking towards Su Mo step by step. As Xianyuan Xiaotian took steps forward, his aura began to rise steadily. Soon, a powerful aura belonging to the peak of the Venerable came like pressure from Su Mo. Su Mo looked at him calmly. The eyes are as calm as an ancient well. Facing the pressure from the peak of the Venerable's aura, his eyes did not show the slightest ripple. Oh, your concentration is pretty good. Xianyuan Xiaotian let out a light exclamation. Seeing Su Mo calm and composed, and unmoved in the face of his own power. While he was secretly shocked, he just thought that he had amazing willpower, and was trying to remain calm. Then he sneered and said, You are such a daredevil, you dare to bully my daughter like this, I will bully your father. Taoist sect leader. The Taoist leader next to him was completely stunned, with a smile still on his face because Su Mo won the game. At this moment he froze in place. The rest of the fence-sitter families remained silent and watched the confrontation between the two major families quietly. Xianyuan Xiaotian, don't think you can defeat me. Then, the Taoist leader said angrily. However, when he said this, it was obvious that he was timid and lacked confidence. Because Xianyuan Xiaotian is a well-known master in the Venerable Realm, and countless demon masters have died at his hands. It's a reputation that he earned through hard work. He is almost invincible in the realm of the Venerable. And he has just entered the late stage of Venerable. The gap between them is not a little bit. It's not an exaggeration to say that he was controlled by Xianyuan Xiaotian. It seems that you haven't had enough from the last battle. I hope you can improve a little this time. Xianyuan Xiaotian said with disdain. Hearing this, the Taoist leader turned pale. In order to maintain their combat effectiveness, the Dao sect and the 8 great families usually We will also have frequent exchanges and discussions. And obviously, the leader of the Taoist sect suffered a great loss in the last competition. The leader of the Taoist sect seems to be the person in charge of the Taoist sect, but in fact he is just a representative and speaker. Those who truly hold power are still the older generation of supreme elders and the top ancestor of the Su family, the human emperor. The top fighters of the Tao sect are very strong, but the middle-aged generation is the worst. Bai Huang didn't take over, and he couldn't control the situation. If the leader of the Taoist sect was not the grandson of the Su family's ancestor, he would have lost his position as the leader of the Taoist sect long ago. And now, this battle. If the leader of the Tao sect was really severely abused by Xianyuan Xiaotian and lost face in front of all the noble families, the Taoists would be even more dissatisfied with him in the afternoon. So at this moment, the leader of the Taoist sect could be said to be in a dilemma, with a terribly gloomy face. Boom! When the Taoist leader was hesitating, Xianyuan Xiaotian had already jumped up and came to the ring. The entire ground was cracked due to the tremendous force. What's wrong? Sect Master, is there no one left in your middle-aged generation? Xianyuan Xiaotian sneered. Ha ha ha, in my opinion, if it really doesn't work, you should just give up, so as to avoid losing too badly later. It won't be shameful to give up in front of me, Xianyuan Xiaotian. Xianyuan Xiaotian smiled arrogantly and said in a domineering manner. But no one present dared to refute. Because what Xianyuan Xiaotian said was the truth. Since he was born, he has dominated the entire era. Now he is the undisputed number one among the middle-aged generation. You! The leader of the Taoist sect was shocked and confused, struggling internally. Master, you can't give up your power. Everyone in the sect is watching you. The great elders are watching you, as are those aristocratic families. Yes, sect master, even if we lose, we must show the momentum of our sect. The disciples tried to dissuade him, fearing that the Taoist leader might be afraid of Xianyuan Xiaotian's power and give up. If they gave up directly, it would bring shame to the entire Taoist sect, and it would get out that their Taoist sect was cowardly before the battle even began. If he just lost in a normal battle, no matter how badly he was defeated, it would only be Su Feng who would lose face. Shut up, I know it. The Taoist leader said angrily. These people are talking without any pain in their backs. If they were to compete with Xianyuan Xiaotian, they would be beaten so badly that even their mothers wouldn't recognize them. Everyone knows that Xianyuan Xiaotian is the most cruel and bloodthirsty person, and countless monsters have died in his hands. Even when facing his own people, he rarely held back, and at most would spare their lives. Because of his extraordinary fighting power and the favor of his Xianyuan family's ancestor, the Emperor of Man, no one dared to provoke him. The Xianyuan family is the only family that dares to openly oppose the Taoist sect. Master, this is the elixir that the Grand Elder asked me to give you. At this time, a Taoist disciple. He walked up and handed the pill in his hand to the Taoist leader. This is Blood Soul Pill. The Taoist leader looked at the pill in his hand, his pupils shrank. Then he raised his head and looked towards a high platform in the distance. There, a white-haired old man glanced at him calmly. The Taoist leader felt bitter. Blood Soul Pill is a pill that can forcibly improve one's realm. Within half an hour, one can break through a small realm. But the price is that there will be great side effects after using it, which will not only cause your realm to fall, but also damage your foundation. The Taoist sect leader's talent was not strong to begin with, and now he is the oldest among the middle-aged generation. He is in his 50s, but he has reached this level because of his grandfather, who is the strongest among the Grand Elders. If you take this Blood Soul Pill rashly, you may never have the chance to ascend to the Saint Realm in the future. Obviously, this was to make him destroy the foundation of his own practice in order to maintain the reputation of Taoism. Where is my grandfather? Does he know about this? The Taoist leader still asked in disbelief. Master, this was ordered by your grandfather. He said that you have wasted too many cultivation resources over the years. For the sake of the Taoist's reputation, it is worth it. The doorman whispered. Grandpa, how could he? The Taoist leader muttered in a daze, his face turned extremely pale in an instant, and his body staggered slightly. Why? If there is really no one left among the middle-aged generation of the Taoist sect, surrender as soon as possible and don't waste time. On the stage, Xianyuan Xiaotian said impatiently. This time The Taoist leader felt mixed emotions and looked extremely depressed. Suddenly, he seemed to have aged many years. His hand holding the pill was shaking. The next moment, a flash of determination and relief passed through his heart, and he was about to take it. We took this round. A calm and indifferent voice echoed throughout the venue. The Taoist leader couldn't help but shudder and turned around in disbelief. There, it was still Su Mo. Su Mo had already taken a step forward, dressed in a misty white robe, and passed straight past him. Walked towards the ring calmly. Although you don't like me on weekdays, the fighting and killing should be done by the young people. You just watch. Su Mo said lightly as he passed by the Taoist leader. Or you. The Taoist leader's voice was trembling, and he looked at Su Mo with cloudy eyes. Su Mo ignored him and went straight to the ring. He wasn't thinking about helping his father or anything like that, he just didn't want to give up the hard-earned experience points. After all, it would be difficult to have a legitimate competition in the future. Oh my God, am I crazy or is the world crazy? They actually let the younger generation fight against the middle-aged generation? What's the idea? Although the Taoist young master is indeed a rare and peerless demon, but, after all, his age is there. How dare he compete with the Xianyuan Demon King? This is terrible. The genius of the Taoist sect is going to be bullied severely. I just hope Xianyuan Xiaotian can show mercy. It's hard to say. You don't know Xianyuan Xiaotian's temper. When has he ever held back? He is still too young after all. He can't keep his cool. Why should a young man like him get involved in the affairs of his elders? This is just nonsense. The representatives of the fence-sitter families all shook their heads and sighed. There was a moment of sighing. Although the struggle for orthodoxy in the Taoist sect has a clear stipulation that the older generation cannot participate in the battle of the younger generation, there is no rule that younger people cannot fight on behalf of their elders. But really, there has never been such an example before. Every era has its own outstanding and trendsetter. But I have never heard of a genius from any era who can completely surpass the previous generation. At most, I was catching up, but now... Su Mo. On the other side, Xianyuan Luoyun looked at Su Mo's back and blinked her dark eyes. Her rosy lips moved, and she hesitated several times to speak. In the end, I could only watch his back getting farther and farther away until he finally stepped onto the stage. I don't know why. When everyone was pessimistic about Su Mo. Even if the idea in my mind is a little ridiculous. But she always felt that Su Mo might win. Then she looked at her father Xianyuan Xiaotian with some worry. Maybe I gave advice in the wrong direction. At this time, on the stage. Boy, do you know what you are talking about? Seeing that it was a junior Su Mo who stepped onto the stage in the end, Xianyuan Xiaotian laughed out of anger. You are just a little kid who hasn't even been weaned yet, and you dare to challenge me? I know you have some talent in cultivation. I am far from being as talented as you at your age. But you are still a little naive now. Don't try to figure it out. Let your cowardly old man come. Once I am on the ring, I will not hold back. Xianyuan Xiaotian said. Although Su Mo's strength was not obvious in the previous battle. But as long as one is at the Venerable Realm, it is easy to deal with the King Realm. So even if Su Mo didn't show his specific strength, no matter how talented he was, he should have just entered the realm of the Venerable. After all, age is there. And he had already stagnated at the peak of the Venerable for many years and had a solid foundation. There was no need for him to compete at all. How dare this kid go on the field? How dare he? No need to say more, the younger generation is enough to deal with you. Su Mo Dao. Since Xianyuan Xiaotian was so ruthless, he naturally didn't need to be polite. How dare you? Today I will show you what it means to respect your elders. A cold light flashed in Xianyuan Xiaotian's eyes. Xianyuan Xiaotian, if you dare to seriously injure my son, don't blame me and my sect for being rude to you, the Taoist leader suddenly said in a cold voice. At this moment, he was full of energy and radiant, and his aura was faintly stronger. At this moment, the bottlenecks and knots in my heart were all gradually untied. It was like waking up from a dream, and everything became clear. Ha ha, not bad, Su Feng. Today is the only day in all these years that you act like a man. Xianyuan Xiaotian suddenly laughed out loud towards the sky. Then he suddenly thought of something and said to Su Mo, "Don't worry. I can't bully the weak in a competition with the younger generation. So, don't accuse me of bullying you. Didn't you ask me to take 3 moves? Similarly, I'll give you 3 moves." Xianyuan Xiaotian stood with his hands behind his back, speaking with great self-confidence, like a master. "Dad, I don't think this is necessary." Xianyuan Luoyun suddenly covered her face, unable to bear to watch any further. Su Mo. Good man, this is the first time he has seen such an unreasonable request. Brush. The next moment, without any extra nonsense, Su Mo had already drawn his sword. A dazzling sword light flashed by. He had already taken the lead and fought with Xianyuan Xiaotian. Good swordsmanship, but what the hell? Xianyuan Xiaotian originally had a calm expression, and wanted to imitate Su Mo's previous indifferent comments. But the next moment, as the dazzling sword light got closer, his eyes suddenly shrank violently. He discovered that sword technique had no flaws. The extremely concentrated sword intent locked him firmly, and the sword force replaced the entire world at this moment, imprisoning him. Even he couldn't move. Xianyuan Xiaotian lost. The defeat was utterly disastrous, even more so than that of his own daughter. No more, no less, just 3 moves. After 3 moves, the game was just over. However, contrary to original expectations, originally he gave Su Mo 3 moves. As a result, Xianyuan Xiaotian could only resist 3 attacks. At this moment, Xianyuan Xiaotian was shocked and angry, and his lifelong reputation was almost ruined. It's true. Bullying his daughter wasn't enough, and he even didn't let her father go. For a moment, Xianyuan Xiaotian felt that he had no place to put his old face. Finally, he returned to the audience with a red face. Xianyuan Luoyun looked at his father with sympathy. She has a deep understanding of this. At this time, it is the turn of the older generation to confront each other. Everyone subconsciously looked at Su Mo, looking at him as if he were a monster. I was afraid that he would do something shocking again. And Su Mo looked innocent. Why are you looking at me? The war between the middle-aged generation ended just like that. The ending was so abrupt that it caused an uproar. I'm afraid no one would have thought of this. Originally, Xianyuan Xiaotian should have let Su Mo take 3 moves, and then burst out with strength at will. He easily defeated the junior Su Mo. But now, it has turned into Xianyuan Xiaotian, who can only take 3 moves from Su Mo. All the middle-aged people now feel deeply unbelievable. Perhaps, there really is a kind of genius who can transcend age limits? Ignoring the time of cultivation, and standing shoulder to shoulder with the world's top group of people. Ding, you defeated Xianyuan Xiaotian, a powerful master in the Venerable Realm. Experience value plus 1 million. Reputation value plus 100,000. Ding, your level has been upgraded. The system prompt sounded in his ears. Su Mo fought against the opponent of higher level and won the battle. Upgraded again. Even Su Mo didn't expect to win so easily. Because Su Mo is only level 71, the early stage of the Venerable, while Xianyuan Xiaotian is actually level 79, the peak of the Venerable, 1 step away from the perfect Venerable realm. But there was no other way. Su Mo's combat power as a sword cultivator was too strong. Truly invincible in the same realm. What he relies on is his own powerful sword intent. Sword intent is a power that comes from the spiritual level. It is one of the many artistic conceptions. It is mysterious yet real. He is limited by a person's mental power. If the mind is infinite, then the sword power is infinite. Generally, only when a cultivator reaches an extremely high level can he cultivate spiritual power and even condense a soul oppression similar to sword intent. For example, Xianyuan Shaotian at this moment is like this. This is a spiritual power that can only be mastered by those at the Venerable Realm, but it cannot actually be considered sword intent. Su Emo originally thought that there should be many people who can comprehend the meaning of sword. After all, in the previous reincarnation world, countless ancestors of the sword sect were able to comprehend the sword intent and left their own sword intent inheritance on the Tongtian Bridge. In some more powerful worlds, it stands to reason that there should be more people who understand the sword. But Su Emo found out that he was wrong, extremely wrong. Whether in the main world or this world, there are very few people who can comprehend the meaning of sword, or even none at all. So far, the only people he has met are Luoshi from the main world and Xianyuan Luoyun now. But even if it was Xianyuan Luoyun or Luoshi, the sword intent is as weak as it can be, or it can be said that he has only grasped the basics. If we divide the sword intent into grades, according to Su Mo's understanding, it can be divided into the following 10 categories. The sword intent is introduced, relying on the power of the spiritual realm to evolve into the sword intent. It is called the sword intent, but in fact it is just a spiritual attack, and it has not entered the essence. The first level of sword intent is the true meaning of swordsmanship. Every sword is true. If you master this level, you can automatically match many sword techniques in the world, just like the founder, and exert 100% of the power of the sword technique. The second level of sword intent. Based on the first level of sword intent, it incorporates one's own will, firmly locking onto others, making them feel that they have no escape. The third level of sword intent, based on the first 2 levels of sword intent, incorporates one's own momentum. Each sword strike is like the surging waves and the howling wind, causing a strong mental impact on the enemy and giving them an unstoppable feeling. The fourth level of sword intent, also known as the heart sword. In the case of the first 3 levels of sword intent, one's own emotions are integrated. Every sword can replace one's own emotions, and even affect the thoughts and emotions of others, weakening their combat power. The 5th level of sword intent is invisible and intangible, and can change its form at will. It can be a great wall of sword chi, majestic and powerful, or it can be as gentle as a spring breeze and rain, penetrating every pore. The 6th level of sword spirit can make the person and the sword one, and the mind and the sword can communicate with each other. The requirements for the sword are no longer limited to external objects and forms. Everything in the world, including the body and hair, can be a sword. The 7th level of sword intent can achieve the unity of heaven and sword. One's own power replaces the power of heaven and earth to form a sword domain. The sword will is of the 8th grade. The sword will has substance, and can be integrated into many attributes of nature. It is as hot as fire, burning people's souls, as sharp as wind, hurting people invisibly, as thunderous as thunder, killing first, as heavy as gold, indestructible. It is also the 5 elements of sword will. There are 9 levels of sword intent, and sword intent enters the Tao, integrating into one's own perception of the natural world and the mundane life to form a sword path that is unique to oneself. With Su Mo's current sword intent, the first 8 levels have already been mastered, so his physique has been upgraded to an innate sword body. The remaining 2 items are Su Mo's own deduction of the future of sword intent. But the sword intent has no end, it should be far more than this. And from Su Mo's perspective, Xianyuan Luoyun was only at the 3rd level of sword intent. It can integrate into one's own spiritual will and momentum, but it is not solid yet, and there is still a long way to go. Even so, he is already the son of destiny in the 2nd reincarnation world, a man of natural talent, but at most he can only fight across one small realm and cannot be considered invincible in the same realm. As for Xianyuan Shaotian, he relied purely on the strength of his own realm. He called it sword intent, but in fact it was just a mental attack. It relies more on the Xianyuan sword technique, which can only be regarded as an introduction to sword skills. Or perhaps he never understood the meaning of sword at all. Although Xianyuan Shaotian also used a sword as a weapon, he was not a swordsman. At most, he was a swordsman, or a powerful warrior. He can swing the sword energy because of his own realm. Once he becomes a king-level strongman, he can release his spiritual power. However, the sword energy he swung out was the weakest one, relying on the power of the Xianyuan sword itself, without any sword power at all. More like a pure energy attack. As for the previous reincarnation world, many sword practitioners have explored the power of the mind to the extreme, comprehended the fourth level of sword intent, and reached the level of integrating their own emotions. When Su Mo broke through the Tongtian Bridge, the sword intent that was still fresh in his memory was filled with inexplicable grief, ruthless sword intent, and joyful sword intent. It directly turned into his sword intent foundation, allowing him to comprehend the fourth level of sword intent. Later, in the supreme inheritance of the sword sect, from the 10,000 swords returning to the sect, he comprehended the fifth and seventh levels of sword intent. Later, Sword 2 and 3 of the Holy Spirit sword technique, through the sword heart realm, comprehended the eighth level of sword intent. It has to be said that in the previous reincarnation world, although it was limited by the world level, there were real sword cultivators in it who had reached the pinnacle of exploration of the way of sword and had extraordinary combat power. The foundation it brings to Su Mo is really too powerful. This laid the foundation for his swordsmanship, which enabled him to achieve his current success, becoming truly invincible in his own realm, and even able to fight across borders. Su Mo is a true sword cultivator. He is even the best among sword cultivators. It's really a case of the old being replaced by the new. They're getting old. Even Demon King Xian is no match for them. Yeah, that's what it's called. The waves behind the Lingjiang River push the waves in front of them, and each wave is stronger than the last. Who said it wasn't? I always feel like this guy uses the sword differently from us. Indeed, this guy is very evil. Just standing there, he has a sharp edge. I actually feel as if he has merged with the sword. It feels like the sword he uses is a sword, and we are just toys. The other family representatives murmured and wailed in unison, and the whole place was in chaos at this moment. Many people present also wield swords as weapons, but they only use them as weapons to kill people. They have never explored the way of the sword, and do not understand what it means to be one with the sword and to have spiritual connection, let alone the meaning of the sword. So at this moment, I just simply felt that Su Mo's fighting power was terrifyingly strong. From their perspective, they don't understand why it is so powerful. At this moment, the nest was blown up directly. Of course, there were also many representatives of noble families who remained silent and did not participate in the discussion. Instead, he acted like a master and seemed to have no interest in these topics. At this time, the representative of the Nangong family, Nangong Shan. He exchanged glances with Situ He of the Situ family. Then they all looked at Su Mo. His dark blue eyes flashed, and no one knew what he was thinking. And soon, the struggle for the orthodoxy, the battle among the older generation will begin. Boom! Two old men with white hair and youthful faces descended from the sky. The enormous aura on his body overwhelms the entire martial arts arena. The aura fluctuations belonging to the Saint Realm burst out without any disguise. An old man wearing the Taoist robe of Xianyuan family. He didn't even look at the defeated Xianyuan Shaotian and the gloomy Xianyuan Luoyuan, as if they were two insignificant people. But his eyes were looking straight at Su Mo. After looking at him for a long time, he suddenly grinned and looked at Su Mo with admiration, saying, "It's been a long time since we've seen such an outstanding young genius appear in the human race." Hearing this, although Su Mo felt a little strange inside, he still nodded calmly. Logically speaking, I beat up 2 generations of the Xianyuan family and brought great honor to the Xianyuan family. Not only was this supreme elder not angry, but he was also so kind. Is this the mindset of a senior master? But why did a flash of murderous intent appear just now? Su Mo shook his head without thinking much. At this time, the dispute over the orthodox doctrine among the older generation soon began. Boom! The two old men began to make noises like thunder. They fought from low altitude to high altitude. Powerful and eerie energy fluctuations spread throughout the world. As brilliant as fireworks, spreading all over the place. Horrifying auras were constantly emanating from the sky. The fluctuations of the aura belonging to the Saint realm were so oppressive that they made people feel uncomfortable. After nearly half a quarter of an hour, the battle was still going on, and no one had defeated the other. That's not right. Why is it taking so long? Logically, shouldn't this round of fighting be over quickly? Su-Mo frowned slightly. According to the instructions in the reincarnation simulator, the battle between the older generation was no surprise at all. It will end with the Xianyuan family's great elder being crushed and defeated. But at this moment, why do they seem to be evenly matched again? Could it be that the Xianyuan family's supreme elder in the reincarnation deliberately concealed his strength? But why did he deliberately hide his strength? If the three generations won the battle, wouldn't it be more conducive for the Xianyuan family to ask for benefits from the emperor of the Su family? Or will it directly become a new Taoist sect? But this is not in the interests of the Xianyuan family. Unless he didn't wholeheartedly hope that the Xianyuan family would dominate, but hoped that the Xianyuan family and the Dao sect would fight among themselves, and weaken each other. But why is this? I always feel like there's something wrong with this old guy. And those family representatives, some of them are too quiet. Su-Mo murmured. Although the old man's demeanor and movements were flawless, he really looked like a senior master of the Xianyuan family. But it always gave Su-Mo a weird feeling. Finally, Su-Mo directly checked the old man's attribute information. It didn't matter that he just glanced at it, but the next moment, a hint of surprise flashed across Su-Mo's eyes. Su-Mo looked at the other family representatives present and scanned their information one by one. Every time he looked at someone, the light in Su-Mo's eyes grew deeper. Then, Su-Mo raised a faint smile and whispered softly, "Interesting." He slowly tightened his grip on the soul-devouring sword, and a faint aura began to secretly gather on his body. The battle of the older generation continues. And finally, the thunderous battle seemed to be coming to an end. A moment later, two figures fell from the sky and stood on the stage. They each condensed an extremely powerful aura. At this moment, the battle seemed to have entered a white-hot stage. "Brother Sushan, if you can catch this move, I will lose," Xianyuan family's grand elder Xianyuan Fengyun suddenly said. The next moment, a strong aura fluctuation burst out from his body, and a bright energy ball slowly condensed in his hand. Su Shan was on high alert, and as his spiritual energy surged, layers of protection began to appear on his body. He got into a stance, as if prepared to seriously resist the attack. Boom! I saw that the energy in Xianyuan Fengyun's hands was condensed to the highest point, and his momentum also climbed to the highest peak. Su Shan stood still like a mountain, with a powerful aura and his defenses at their strongest. He was ready. Just when everyone thought this was a brilliant offensive and defensive battle. But the next moment, brush. The imagined battle did not come. Only a shadow flashed past Su Shan. With astonishing murderous intent, he pressed towards the audience seats. Not good. Su Shan's pupils shrank and he exclaimed, knowing that he had been fooled. The place where Xianyuan Fengyun was rushing towards was Su-Mo, the Taoist who had the potential to become the human emperor in the future. "Xianyuan Fengyun, are you crazy?" Su Shan was furious. But at this distance, it was too late to stop him. As for the rest of the noble families, including the Taoists, I was so shocked by this sudden change that I couldn't come to my senses. There was no time to react. The powerful attack belonging to the Saint realm had already rushed towards Su-Mo. Completion. This was the last thought in everyone's mind. Is it possible that mankind has finally produced a genius who has the potential to become the emperor of mankind, but he is about to fall again? What on earth is wrong with Xianyuan Fengyun? Amor. No. Su Feng's eyes were bloodshot and he wanted to fight back, But the spiritual power in his hands was too late to circulate and condense. The attack from the Saint Realm was so fast. It came almost instantly. Everyone's heart was in their throat, and they were filled with shock and anger. I felt angry and helpless at the same time, and I sighed deeply. Because Suemo is doomed to die. How should a venerable face a sneak attack from a saint-level powerhouse when he is completely unprepared? Just when everyone thought that this young man who constantly gave them surprises would be turned into ashes by Xian Yuan Fingyun's attack. When a generation of genius will fall. Suemo looked calm, as if he had anticipated the devastating attack. I'm waiting for you. Suemo sneered, and the next moment, he took a step forward, and the sword in his hand moved. Brush. It seems like I have been waiting for a long time. The sword power that had been secretly accumulating strength exploded without reservation at this moment. An extremely bright sword light suddenly appeared. With the invincible spirit of sweeping across the world, he cut through the sky and slashed directly towards Xian Yuan Fengyun. Seeing the oncoming attack, Xian Yuan Fengyun's eyes were filled with deep astonishment, and the attack in his hand was directly cut off by the sword light. Sizzle! The next moment, the golden body of Xian Yuan Fengyun's saint was shattered, and his arm was directly cut off. The whole body fell out directly. This is the method of cultivating the sword. You have already been secretly preparing for it. Why? When did you discover it? Xian Yuan Fengyun's voice suddenly became sharp, and in an instant, his body began to twist and change continuously. 8 long tails suddenly appeared from behind, 3 of which were broken off. His entire face began to blur, and his breath became extremely weak. Obviously, he was caught off guard and was seriously injured by Suemo's sword. You have too many flaws. Suemo sneered. Impossible. I have studied and imitated this person's living habits and way of speaking for decades. I have been carefully hiding and lurking for so many years. How could there be any flaws? Xian Yuan Fengyun obviously didn't believe it and said angrily. As the grand elder of the Xian Yuan family, he didn't even look at the defeat of the patriarch and the young master of the Xian Yuan family. I didn't scold them for losing face, nor did I encourage them to regain their sword spirit. For one thing, this is unreasonable as a supreme elder. Seeing that Xian Yuan Fengyun had been injured by the sword energy that he had secretly nurtured for a long time, Suemo then began to explain. And I defeated the head and young master of your Xian Yuan family one after another, but you were so kind to me. It was too unusual. It was not in line with the usual style of the Xian Yuan family. This is the second reason. Third, that trace of murderous intent just now was released towards me by you, right? Just because I brought shame to the Xian Yuan family, they want to kill me? No matter what, we are all human. How could they really have the intention to kill me in front of the monster enemy? Unless you are a demon yourself? I am right, little fox. Suemo grinned, and with each time he spoke, Xian Yuan Fengyun's face became paler. At this moment, as Suemo finished his last words, Xian Yuan Fengyun spat out a mouthful of blood, and changes also appeared on his face. There are 6 whiskers on both sides of his cheeks, and 2 furry ears on his head. The 5 remaining tails are fluttering in the wind, giving him an astonishing and awe-inspiring demonic aura. Seeing Xian Yuan Fengyun reveal his true identity, Suemo was filled with emotion. He didn't expect that the monsters in the other world would be like this. Of course, he still hadn't said a word. He was cheating, yes and no, it was clear on the attribute panel. He really didn't want to see it too clearly. Ha ha ha, I never thought that my demon race had been lurking among the human race for so many years, but today I fell into the hands of a junior. The fox girl from the demon clan realized that her identity had been exposed, so she simply stopped hiding. But do you think I'm the only one here? The fox demon from the demon race revealed its true appearance, with a gorgeous face and a charming smile. It has to be said that the appearance of the fox demon clan has always been the best among many races. At this moment, the fox demon looked around with a hint of charm. Name Bai Xiao. Race, Qingxiu Fox Clan, 8-tailed demonic fox. Level 82. Skills, Qing Gang Protective Body, Qinghu Wind Control Technique, Qinghu Pressure, The World in the Sleeve, Fox Charm Technique, Advanced Disguise Technique. Evaluation. He has been lurking among the human race for many years with great painstaking efforts. Now that he has been exposed, his mind has been lost and his emotions are fluctuating greatly. Influencing him mentally may achieve twice the result with half the effort. Exerting mental influence. Su Mo muttered to himself as he looked at the fox girl's information floating in front of him. His eyes flickered slightly, and at this moment he had made up his mind. Get started! At this moment, Bai Xiao suddenly let out a sweet cry. Just a moment. Nangong Shan from the Nangong family and Situ He from the Situ family suddenly jumped up. Their figures turned into a streak of rainbow and rushed towards Xianyuan Luoyun. The speed is shocking. Brush. Xianyuan Luoyun showed an expression that said, as expected. The next moment, a layer of faint golden light began to emerge from his body. This was the Xianyuan sword energy protecting his body spontaneously. Xianyuan Luoyun swung out the Xianyuan divine sword, and with one strike of the sword, a golden Xianyuan sword energy appeared between heaven and earth. In an instant, Nangong Shan and Situhi's faces changed drastically. I could only resist hastily, but lost the offensive. But the attack failed, and the people of Xianyuan family had already protected Xianyuan Luoyun. He looked at the two of them in shock and anger. The two demons looked confused and uncertain. The sneak attack that seemed certain to succeed was declared a failure. They couldn't figure out why, when everyone's attention was attracted by the fox demon. Xianyuan Luoyun was actually so vigilant, or rather, she was actually always paying attention to the two of them. Why, how did you find out? Nangong Shan and Situhi asked in hoarse voices, looking puzzled. The assassination attempt failed, and the strike was unsuccessful, which meant that death was not far away. I believe Brother Su Mo has already discovered it, right? Seeing that the other humans also looked over curiously, Xianyuan Luoyun took back the sword in his hand. While looking at Su Mo, she blinked her beautiful eyes and said, Su Mo, it's not that I know something. Su Mo was confused by the sudden gaze and looked dumbfounded. He couldn't help but complain in his heart. Since Brother Su Mo doesn't want to tell you, then I'll tell you. Xianyuan Luoyun explained softly. You are human, but you are so quiet. It seems that there are no flaws, but this is the biggest flaw. As a human, how can we stay out of the world and be incompatible with it? How can we not be tainted by the world's fireworks? No problem, this is the biggest problem. I believe that Brother Su Mo has already guessed this. Finally, Xianyuan Luoyun looked at Su Mo again, her eyes full of admiring little stars, and said softly, I didn't expect that this boy not only has amazing talent, but also has a meticulous mind and extremely high wisdom. He is so terrifying. Yes, this boy has great talent, extraordinary natural ability, and is so smart. He is even better than Zhuge Kongming. He is really the hope for the future of our human race. There were bursts of exclamations from the representatives of the noble families. The look of admiration in Su Mo's eyes could not be concealed. Excellent! Really wonderful! It is said that the Taoist young master has unparalleled talent, but I didn't expect his thinking to be so meticulous. After hearing Xianyuan Luoyun's words, Bai Xiao from the demon clan also smiled faintly. There was a charming charm on her pretty face as she spoke softly. Even though she was a demon, she couldn't help but admire the young man in front of her from the bottom of her heart. Not only does she look so good, she also fits the aesthetics of the demon race. Moreover, he is extremely intelligent and talented. However, those who are not of my race must have different hearts. The more such a person is, the sooner he should be killed. Otherwise, in the future, when he grows up to be the emperor of the human race, he will become a great threat to the demon race. It has always been said that my Fox clan is resourceful and good at scheming, but I didn't expect that compared with you, we are nothing. Your meticulous thinking is simply the only one I have ever seen in my life. Bai Xiao said softly, looking at Sumo's beautiful eyes with admiration but also a hint of murderous intent. Sumo. Sumo was completely speechless. What kind of meticulous thinking? He just has a system. You can tell at a glance. Well, if you insist on thinking so, there is nothing we can do about it. He is indeed resourceful, Sumo. It seems that I won't have the chance to kill you today, but do you think you can stop me? Bai Xiao sneered, looked around, and faced the rest of the human race without fear. Brush. In an instant, Bai Xiao flicked her sleeves. It began to flutter in the wind, and in an instant it grew dozens of times larger. The sleeves covered the sky, and the entire sky darkened. In just a moment, countless demons flew out from their sleeves and attacked the surrounding humans. It's the world up his sleeves! At this moment, the scene was in chaos, and almost all the human beings present were entangled by the sudden appearance of the demons. Bai Xiao smiled lightly, shook her head slightly, and prepared to evacuate during the chaos. But the next moment, a figure quietly stood in front of her. It turned out to be Sumo, who had been eyeing her from the beginning. The only person in front of me is this demon woman. You want to kill me? You think you can hurt me only by using the sword cultivation method? You don't really think you can stop me, do you? Bai Xiao asked. Obviously, he didn't expect that his prey would take the initiative to intercept him. In an instant, it was unclear who was the prey and who was the hunter. If you don't try, how will you know? Sumo whispered softly, and the next moment, he slowly drew his sword. Compared with being resourceful, he prefers to use the sword directly. Jump! I saw a clear sound of swords spreading all over the place in an instant. A dazzling sword light crisscrossed the world in an instant. At the same time, a sword intent that seemed to be real filled the various emotions in this world. Joy, sorrow, anger, resentment, desire began to sweep across the entire martial arts arena. 7 emotions sword intent. This is the inexplicable sorrow that Sumo realized from Tongtian Bridge, the joy sword, the ruthless sword, all kinds of 4th grade sword intent merged into one. This formed the current 7 emotions sword intent. The evaluation has already stated that Bai Xiao's mind is lost at this moment, so it would be more effective to target her mentally. And what could be better than the 7 emotions sword intent in the 4th level sword intent? In an instant, the emotions of countless demons were deeply affected by this sword intent. At the same time, their emotions began to change in different situations. Several weak-willed demons actually put down their weapons and stood there in a daze. Some of the demons began to burst into tears without knowing why, and were quickly killed on the spot by the surrounding humans. This is still an existence affected by the 7 emotions sword intent. Bai Xiao, who was the first to be hit, was briefly trapped in the 7 emotions sword intent, unable to get out. In that state of passion, her pupils contracted and her mind wavered. All the bad memories from the past are now flooding into my mind like a tide. Take me, Bai Xiao. I was a 3rd-level demon soldier at the age of 7, a 10th-level demon soldier at the age of 12, and the youngest demon general of my generation at the age of 15. Before Zhao Ziyuo showed up, I was the most dazzling genius of the Fox clan. Even the Fox Lord praised me for my extraordinary talent. I may become a demon emperor in the future. I encountered many adventures along the way, and finally, at the age of 100, I achieved the status of demon saint. I was expected to inherit the position of Fox Lord. But why did I meet Zhao Ziyuo? I finally became a shadow man. There was deep hatred in Bai Zhao's eyes. The misery in her heart for more than 10 years was drawn out by the 7 emotions sword intent at this moment, and it exploded like never before. As a shadow man of the demon race, his only mission is to secretly penetrate into the human race. Go deep into the enemy's hinterland, find out the internal secrets of the human race, and at the same time assassinate the human race's genius who has the potential to become the human emperor. Once you become a member of the demon clan's shadow, it means you will completely abandon your demon clan identity. Become a hidden chess piece, stay in this disgusting human territory forever without daylight. And hypocritical and cunning human beings are playing tricks on us. After assassinating the human genius, his identity will be exposed. During the day, you will be hunted down by all human beings. And there are very few shadows who can escape from the heart of the human race, which almost announces the arrival of their fate of death. This was to exchange the life of a great demon saint for the life of a so-called human genius. Bai Xiao is unwilling. She could have had a brighter future. Everything is because of Zhao Ziluo. Why did I have to meet Zhao Ziluo? Why? She became a demon general at the age of 10, a demon king at the age of 12, a demon lord at the age of 15, and a demon saint at the age of 17. Now, she can become a demon emperor before she is 20. Why is her talent so amazing that she surpasses all the demons in history and becomes the youngest demon emperor in history? At this moment, Bai Zhao's heart was filled with strong jealousy and resentment. Her originally pretty face began to appear hideously distorted. I won't accept this. The demon emperor should have been mine. It should have been me. Zhao Ziluo, I must kill Zhao Ziluo, that bitch. That face, why is it more beautiful than mine? Jealousy drives people crazy. Bai Zhao's deep hatred was deeply aroused under the influence of the 7 emotions sword intent. But if you're one step slow, you'll be slow every step. She's the demon emperor. With her talent, I may never have a chance. Under the influence of the 7 emotions sword, Bai Xiao suddenly smiled bitterly again. It's good that I've been exposed now. I don't want to stay in this disgusting human race anymore. Thinking back to the 10 years of undercover career, where I was forced to learn the culture and living habits of the human race, my heart was filled with countless pains. Perhaps I should thank you for allowing me to finally exist in the world again as a demon. At the same time, the dazzling sword light arrived in an instant. Bai Xiao was stunned in the spot, quietly watching the sword light coming towards her, all kinds of emotions intertwined in her heart. It was as if I saw the demons living freely and comfortably. At this moment, I felt a sense of relief in my heart. Isn't that sword light the freedom she longs for? Boom! The next moment, the sword light slashed through her body. The sword flashed across, and under the influence of the 7 emotions sword intention, Bai Xiao was so stunned that she forgot to resist. Under the terrifying sword energy, Bai Zhao's Qinggang guardian body of the Saint Realm was directly shattered. 2 of the tails behind him were cut off again, leaving only 3. The 7 emotions sword intentions continued to influence her thoughts. At this moment, she felt endless despair and pessimism filled her mind. I couldn't even muster the slightest desire to fight. Give up. We have already penetrated deep into the heart of the human race. There is no way we can survive anyway, Bai Xiao whispered. At this moment, her body was broken, and 5 of her 8 tails were broken, leaving only 3. How could he possibly escape from the pursuit of so many human masters? There was even a hint of death in his eyes. This is the terrifying aspect of the 7 emotions sword intent. It is simply the nemesis of those with weak minds. No! This is the last mission. Once I complete it, I can successfully retire. But Bai Xiao was a demon saint after all, and his eyes suddenly became firm again. Even though the 7 emotions sword was extremely mysterious, and was almost the nemesis of these monsters with tragic experiences. However, the demon saint's cultivation level has enabled him to specialize in the spiritual realm. At this moment, he directly erected a mental barrier in his sea of consciousness to resist the sword intent that was invading his mind. Swoosh! But by then, it was too late. The Su family's supreme elder had come behind her without her noticing. The powerful attack from the Saint Realm had already landed on her. Boom! In just a moment, her body was completely destroyed. She probably would never have thought that after practicing for more than 100 years, she would eventually fall into the hands of a junior. Not only did the sneak attack fail, the holy body that was killed by his sword cultivation method was shattered and its 2 tails were cut off. Afterwards, the influence of the 7 emotions sword intent shook his mind, disrupted his thinking and emotions, made him unable to retreat successfully, and cut off 3 of his tails. In the end, Su Shan's sneak attack ended his life in an instant. A generation of demon saint died young. Ding Yu and Su Shan killed Bai Xiao together, experience plus 5 million, reputation plus 100,000. Ding your level plus 2. Bai Xiao died. Su Enmo fought against the mirror, although he didn't kill her, but she died because of him. It is no exaggeration to say that Su Enmo played 70% of the role in killing Bai Xiao. If Bai Xiao hadn't been a demon saint with a thick layer of Qin Gang's protective body defense, Bai Xiao wouldn't even be able to block Su Mo's sword. And now he has risen 2 levels and is finally able to fight the demon saint alone. It is even possible to kill a weaker demon saint. Soon, with the death of the demon saint Bai Xiao, the entire Taoist sect began to be enveloped by a golden light, and the mountain protection formation had been activated. All the monsters summoned by Bai Xiao's sleeves were trapped in an instant. The other powerful men of the Taoist sect also arrived at this moment. An unprecedented fight began. Among them, Su Enmo is the most dazzling figure. He kills a monster every 10 steps and leaves no trace in 1,000 miles. With every step he took, several demons were slain by his sword. Finally, a brilliant stream of light passed through the crowd of monsters. In an instant, a large number of monsters died. Ding, you killed a wolf demon at the early stage of Demon Master, experience value plus 100,000. Ding, you killed a mid-level tiger demon, experience points plus 200,000. Ding, you killed a fox demon at the early stage of Demon Lord, experience points plus 100,000. Ding, your level has been upgraded. Soon, all the demons present were killed, and Su Enmo upgraded again, reaching the middle stage of the Venerable. This upgrade speed is simply too fast. He doesn't even need to look for monsters everywhere, the experience points are simply given to him. Soon, the dispute over Taoist orthodoxy came to an end. The demon rebellion started by a demon saint Bai Xiao, several demon lords and dozens of demon kings was finally put down at this moment. A war of this scale is equivalent to a medium-sized battle. The human race almost won a great victory. There were very few casualties, which was unprecedented. And all this is because of Su Enmo. He killed most of the monsters on the field by himself, and acted decisively, as if he was afraid of being robbed. To be honest, the reason why Senior Human Emperor of my Xianyuan family sent Xianyuan Fengyun to represent the older generation this time was because we had a lot of doubts about him and wanted to use this sect dispute to test him. Now we have finally caught this demon clan. At this time, Xianyuan Xiaotian spoke up and vaguely revealed the secret again. It seems that the real Xianyuan Fengyun has already died in that war. The one who escaped back was just a fake one, and the information he brought back was probably also fake. Now I have to thank the young master for helping my Xianyuan family eliminate this great scourge. Xianyuan Xiaotian bowed deeply to Su Enmo and said very politely and sincerely. Because Su Mo's future is limitless. This is not only a respect for Su Mo's strength, but also a recognition of his identity. After hearing what the Xianyuan family had said, Su Enmo suddenly realized what was going on. No wonder in the reincarnation simulator, although the Taoist sect won the battle for orthodoxy, the Xianyuan family did not become the new Taoist sect in the end. It seems that the dispute among Taoists is fake, but forcing out the spies from the demon clan is real. If, by the way, we can make the Su family's ancestor bleed heavily, that would be even better. The human emperor of the Xianyuan family has a good plan, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Afterwards, Bai Zhao's true identity must have been forced out through other means, otherwise Xianyuan Luo Yun in the reincarnation simulation would not have been safe and sound and would have been killed long ago. At this time, it was only because of Su Mo's existence that it was exposed in advance. That's right, if the human race's high-level leaders could really be invaded so easily, then the human race would have ceased to exist long ago. To be honest, my Situ family also had doubts about Situ He. This time, it's all thanks to the young master. It's the same with my Nangong family. Nangong Shan's temperament changed drastically after returning from the battlefield. Now, with the help of the young master, he has finally revealed his true colors. Master, thank you for your nagging this time. We will meet again someday. Several noble families who exposed the demon clan spies, perhaps for the sake of family reputation, or to clear their own family of suspicion. At this time, they all spoke up. They were all high-sounding excuses, as if they came here specifically to catch the spy. Just when all the representatives of the noble families exchanged greetings and prepared to leave. After taking advantage of my sect, you just leave like this. I'm afraid it's not appropriate. At this moment, in the surprised gaze of everyone, Su-Emo took a step forward and quietly stood in front of everyone. 1, 2, 3, 7. Looking at the several people hidden in the crowd, with the word Demon Clan clearly marked on their attribute panels, Su-Emo murmured softly. So many experience points, you want to leave? Did he agree? He didn't let the demons go, and he won't let the humans go either. He can kill 7 more, and then beat up all of them, which should be enough for him to level up again. Brother Su-Emo, so handsome. At this time, Xianyuan Luoyun looked at Su-Emo, who was quietly standing in front of everyone. She had an invincible spirit of one man standing against 10,000, and her beautiful eyes were full of sparkling little stars. Each family basically sent 10 representatives. At this time, after finding out some of the demon clan's spies, among the remaining 60 or 70 people, there are still 7 demon tribes that have not revealed themselves but are still lurking among the human race. And when Su-Mo's eyes swept over them, they trembled noticeably. But he still pretended to be calm. Su-Emo grinned. With the system's prompts, all these experience points were naturally revealed. Su-Emo would naturally not let go of the experience points that were delivered to his doorstep. I suspect there is an undercover demon clan agent among you, Su-Emo said softly, and then glanced at one of the people in the field. The man trembled visibly and sweat began to break out on his forehead. Su-Emo said, and walked towards the man. No, Master Su-Emo. What are you doing? I'm warning you, don't come over here. A man who was hanging around in the Nangong family had a face full of fear that gradually became distorted. He took several steps back and looked at Su-Emo in horror. Ah! The next moment, a scream was heard. Half an hour later. Young Master's fighting power is unparalleled. We are convinced. With the young Master's potential, he will surely be able to conquer the world and solve the problem of the demon race sooner or later. Yes, it's our fault for being short-sighted. I actually thought that the young Master just wanted to beat us up, but it turns out that he wanted to find out the hidden demon tribe. Yes, young Master has a keen eye. He has once again solved the great problem facing the human race. I saw that a group of representatives from aristocratic families were already standing in front of the Taoist gate. Their faces were bruised and swollen, but they still spoke politely, with an expression of great gratitude. I dare not have any complaints. The truth is, I was scared of being beaten by Su-Emo. In just half an hour, who knows what they went through. Puff. Looking at the scene in front of her, Xianyuan Luoyun couldn't help laughing. She covered her mouth and chuckled, with a sweet smile on her beautiful face. It was really funny to see them trying to remain calm and say thank you while being beaten black and blue. Then little stars appeared in her eyes and she looked at Su-Emo without blinking, her beautiful eyes full of admiration. It has been a long time since I have seen such a scene among the representatives of these noble families who are usually high and mighty. Although he was beaten black and blue, he still had to pretend to be calm and thank him. Young Master, we will leave first. Sorry for nagging you this time. Thank you, young Master, for helping my family clean up its internal affairs. Then, young Master, shall we leave first? Several family representatives looked at Su-Emo and spoke cautiously. At this moment, Su-Emo is the main focus. After all, this is a world where strength is respected. Su-Emo nodded slightly and looked at them with an eye for experience points. I'll have to find a reason to brush it again some other day. His upgrade speed is still not fast enough. If possible, he would definitely like to go back earlier, the sooner the better. He didn't want to stay in this world without Luo Xi and Su Xian for a moment. If he wanted to go back quickly, he naturally had to upgrade quickly, and then it would be as simple as killing Zhao Ziluo. Then we will leave. At this time, everyone was already a little scared by Sumo's stare. After seeing Sumo's approval, I finally breathed a sigh of relief. Dozens of representatives from the noble families turned into a stream of light and flew away on swords. During the flight, his body gradually straightened up and his expression became calm again. They resumed their superior attitude, as if they were not the ones who were beaten just now. Remember to come to Daomen again when you have time. When they were halfway through the flight, a faint voice reached their ears again. They twitched their lips, staggered, and almost fell off the flying sword. Ding, you defeated Shangguan Tianyun, a powerful warrior in the early stage of the Venerable Realm. Experience points plus 50,000. Ding, you defeated the early stage Venerable Strongman Situfengi, experience value plus 50,000. Ding, your level has been upgraded. Ding, you defeated the mid-stage Venerable Nangong Huangqing. Experience points plus 50,000. Ding, you killed the Black Heart Tiger, a powerful demon in the early stage of the Demon Lord Realm. Experience points plus 100,000. Ding, your level has been upgraded. Killing a demon in the early stage of the Venerable will earn you 100,000 experience points. If you just win, you will only get half the experience points. At this time, Su Mo beat up all the people from the Dao sect and killed several monsters. As expected, we won 2 levels in a row again. Name Su Mo. Level 7684, peak of the middle stage of the Venerable. Experience value 23,000/1000000. Reputation 5 million, famous throughout the world. Physique, innate sword body. Luck, God favors you. Talent, Sword Realm LV6, Sword Domain. Skills, Heaven and Earth Sword, Xianyuan Sword Technique, Taoist Talisman Mastery, Taoist Magic Mastery, Invisibility Technique, Thousand Faces, Mutual Support, Tianxin Sword Technique. Items, Starry Treasure Box 1, Taoist Manual, Self-Cultivation of Taoist Soldiers, Vigorous Pill 96, Life-Saving Pill 3. Evaluation First Class. At this time, his sword realm was further upgraded to the sword realm because he had mastered the Xianyuan sword technique. The level was finally raised to 76, and the combat power reached a terrifying level 84. This kind of strength is among the best in the world even if you look at the entire Yaoyuan continent. He is one step closer to returning. Next, you can try to leave the Taoist sect and upgrade while looking for Zhao Ziluo. Amor, how come you are so powerful now? Yes, young master, what have you experienced in the outside world in recent years? Young master, how did you discover those monsters? You are so amazing. At this time, the disciples of the Dao sect who were familiar with Su Mo began to come over. Asked Su Mo in a flurry of voices. Su Mo was just thinking of finding a random excuse to get away with it. Boom! However, at this moment, great changes began to occur throughout the world. Suddenly, a golden beam of light shot up into the sky from the mountain behind the Taoist sect, cutting through the sky and earth and soaring into the clouds. The entire sky suddenly turned red with golden light. Unprecedented golden light illuminated the 9 heavens and 10 earths, directly turning the entire world into a golden color. The golden beam of light connects the sky and the earth. Its grandeur is incomparable. I saw a golden imperial edict beginning to condense within the golden light column that reached the sky. At the same time, an incomparable and huge pressure dominated the land. At this moment, the whole world was shocked. All the human race who saw the golden light, from the Dao sect to the people within 100 miles. At this moment, without exception, everyone knelt on the ground. We are waiting to welcome His Majesty the Emperor. One voice after another echoed throughout the world and lasted for a long time. In the crowd of people kneeling, only Su Mo, dressed in a white dress, stood there calmly, like a crane standing out among chickens. He looked at all this with a complicated expression. In the Yaoyuan continent, the human emperor of the human race represents absolute supremacy. They have dominated the human race not just for one era, but for several eras. It is not only the most honorable title in the world, but also a recognition of its absolute strength. In one era, there may be several saints and venerables. But often, for several eras, no human emperor is born. There is a huge gap between the strength of the human emperor and that of a saint. There is a saying that has been passed down since ancient times: under the emperor, all are ants. It can truly affect the fate of the entire human race and the demon race. There are the 3 human emperors and 5 demon emperors in this world. They control the birth and death of countless lives. The life and death of all races in the world depends on his one thought. So why did the Taoist sect lose to the Xianyuan family in the orthodoxy dispute? This door is still controlled by the Su family. It is precisely because the human emperor of the Su family is stronger than the human emperor of the Xianyuan family. Even if the younger generation loses the battle for Taoist orthodoxy, it won't be a big deal. As long as the head of the Su family is still here, the sky will not fall. The entire human race in the world is under the protection of the human emperor. The human emperor controls the life and death of countless human beings. Who dares to disrespect him? We welcome His Majesty the Emperor! The Taoist sect was still saying in unison. Extremely respectful. Every human emperor has absolute appeal and power among the human race. It is almost the heaven of human beings. Kneeling down before the human emperor is a ritual passed down from generation to generation. At this moment, Su Mo's standing out from the crowd was particularly eye-catching. Swoosh! And at this time, the golden beam of light in the sky began to cross countless distances and shine on Su Mo. Su Mo was in the golden light. His handsome face was calm, with an indifferent look as if he had left the world. He was surrounded by golden light, calm and composed, like a banished immortal descending to earth, with extraordinary power and majesty. People who don't know would think that the golden light in front of them was emitted by Su Mo. Brush. The next moment, the golden decree was clearly far away in the sky. But in a flash, it appeared in Su Mo's hand. We come to see His Majesty the Emperor. All the Taoist disciples, with trepidation, bowed respectfully to Su Mo. According to the rules of the human race, the person who holds the decree of the human emperor is like the human emperor himself. Seeing the Dharma is like seeing the emperor. At this moment, Su Mo was surrounded by golden light, shining brightly. Holding the decree in hand, he reigns supreme over the world like a god. The next moment, the golden decree dissipated in Su Mo's hand and slowly turned into 3 large ancient characters. Come see me. The golden font illuminates the 9 heavens and 10 earths. It is extremely dazzling. People of the entire human race can see it clearly. Oh my God! It was His Majesty the human emperor who summoned me personally. What an honor! What an honor! The emperor of mankind hasn't appeared in the world for nearly 100 years, and yet he has personally issued a decree for the sake of the young master. Our young master is a genius, and he has even been summoned by His Majesty the human emperor. The Taoist sect looked at Su Mo with envy, with deep amazement in their eyes. But at the same time, of course, if even Su Mo is not qualified to have a personal audience with His Majesty the human emperor, then no one in this world will have this qualification anymore. Young master, since His Majesty the Emperor has given the order, you should go quickly. At this time, the Taoist saint-level Grand Elder flashed in front of Su Mo. Only saints do not need to kneel when meeting the human emperor. At this moment, the old man was looking at him with complicated eyes. There is admiration, indifference, helplessness, and a hint of surprise. Mixed feelings. After all, at the age of 17, he has almost completed a journey that many older generations cannot complete in their entire lives, becoming a venerable. After that, he can even fight against a saint without losing. It has reached a height that many people cannot reach even if they spend their entire lives. Now, he has even received a personal audience from His Majesty the Emperor. No matter from which point of view, it is enough to be called stunning for all time. Su Mo nodded slightly. Then, following the guidance in his memory, he raised his hand and made a spell. The next moment, a formation appeared under Sumo's feet. Soon, Sumo's body sank slowly and merged into the spot and disappeared. A minor teleportation technique? He can actually engrave formations at will. This boy's talent is truly rare in the world. No wonder he was summoned by the Emperor of Man himself. The Taoist Supreme Elder who was at the saint level had a complicated expression. As Suemo left, the golden light slowly dissipated. At the same time, the atmosphere that frightened the world also dissipated between heaven and earth. The Grand Elder then secretly performed a spell and disappeared the next moment. But when he reappeared, he was still in the same place. The Supreme Elder shook his head, and then chose to fly obediently. Behind the Taoist gate, the Human Emperor Pavilion, an ancient and complex formation suddenly appeared in the air. Then, Suemo took a step out of the formation and appeared here. The Human Emperor Pavilion is not inside the Tao sect. Instead, it is in the back mountain of the Taoist sect, where the Su family's ancestor, the Human Emperor, is in seclusion. Outsiders are not allowed to enter at ordinary times. Even if it was Sumo's original body, who became the young master of this sect, for 17 years. I have never seen the Emperor of Man. The Human Emperor has always been a legend of the entire human race. At this time, he was summoned by him for the first time. The formation that Suemo just used, the small teleportation formation, is one of the 36 Taoist magics and can be considered a type of escape technique. After engraving the escape formation, one can instantly teleport to any area within a radius of dozens of miles. However, one needs to have a precise grasp of the formation and a high level of attainment in Taoism to be able to form a formation by waving one's hands like Suemo. Otherwise, even half an hour of engraving may not be successful. There are very few people who have reached the level of Suemo. Many people of the older generation, who do not specialize in Taoism, may not be able to do it. Your Majesty, I, Suemo, would like to see you. In front of the Human Emperor Palace, Suemo couldn't help but bow and said, regarding the Human Emperor of this world, the three most powerful people who represent the highest authority of the entire human race. The Taoist Emperor guards the center of the human race, and the Xianyuan family Emperor guards the north. The Emperor of the Eastern world guards the east. There is no doubt that the Taoist Emperor is the most powerful one. Also the youngest one. The Emperor of the Su family became enlightened 500 years ago. The legend about him has been heard by the entire Yaoyuan continent since childhood. Sumo's original body was no exception. No one in the hall answered, but the next moment. Crack! The door of the Human Emperor Palace opened automatically without wind, as if pushed by an invisible force, and Suemo walked in. The Emperor's palace is magnificent and majestic. The 9 pillars engraved with mysterious dragon patterns around the hall support the entire hall. There were also several candles in the shape of strange beasts that kept flickering. But it illuminated the entire huge hall. And in the center of the Human Emperor Palace, a peerless figure stood with his hands behind his back, revealing a domineering aura. The moment Suemo walked in, the figure slowly turned around. It was a very young face, handsome, exquisite and flawless, with an extraordinary grace. Even Suemo, who thought she was not bad-looking, couldn't help but flash a look of amazement in her eyes. This person is the only one Suemo has ever seen who can compare with himself in appearance and temperament. The man looked at Suemo quietly with a pair of eyes as clear as water. His aura was profound and vast, and revealed an inextricable sense of vicissitudes and decay, as if he did not exist in this world. His whole body was hazy, as if there was always a layer of mist between him and his body, blurry, distant and faint. He looked at Suemo quietly, his watery eyes showing a touch of emotion. His pale lips moved slightly, and his voice was a little hoarse. You're here. I've been waiting for this day for many years.